What does the ancient wisdom you'd researched and modern science taught you about manifesting?
CT multiplied by A equals M. Conscious thought multiplied by action equals manifestation.
Wow.
That's the formula.
Author, researcher, and founder of Forbidden Knowledge.
Four-time best-selling author of the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets.
Billy Carson.
You can't really manifest if you're full to the top with trauma. You need space.
Yes.
And as you begin to address the shadow work within yourself, the space becomes more and more clear. And the biggest part about not manifesting or losing the manifestation opportunity is not recognizing the things that will lead to the end result. Just kind of waiting for the end result to appear magically.
How can you command the reality you want to manifest while also not being attached if it doesn't happen and the timeline that you want?
Well, there's two things with that. The first thing is,
so I want to make an easy three-part question to start with.
Yeah.
The first one is, what is the universe? And are we living in a matrix?
Okay.
What dimension are we in right now? And how many dimensions are there?
Yeah.
And what is our purpose as human beings?
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. We're on the same frequency. I could tell already. So the universe itself, in my personal opinion, based on my research, is a fractal holographic matrix made of light. Light that we can't particularly detect all of it. Like, for example, dark energy, dark matter. What's creating this expansion of the universe. But the universe as a whole, even the things or the items that appear to be solid within the universe, in my opinion, are all made of light. And we learned this through the
table.
This table is made of light. This table, for example, is a light frequency that's slowed down. And so we give the illusion, or we get the illusion that it's solid, but it's just a frequency wave that has been slowed down, that's been collapsed into the illusion of solidity that we're calling a table. And we don't touch the table. We only have electromagnetic repulsion from this table. So the electrons orbiting the atoms within this table are repelling the electrons orbiting the atoms in my fingers. So you never really touch the table. You get a repulsion effect. And everything in the universe is pretty much set up that way. And what's incredible about the universe is human beings only can see less than 1% of the light spectrum. So we have this grand spectrum that we believe that we're taking in, but we're seeing a sliver of reality. We can't see ultraviolet, multispectrum, infrared, gamma rays, all these incredible frequencies, microwaves. There's microwaves floating all around us right now. We can't detect them. We'd be too distracted. But so the universe is very intelligent. It understands what can we process, how much can we process to navigate through this realm. But those other waves are there. And these waves are what? Waves of light. So we know that through the double slit experiment in quantum physics that was done, that particles decide, electrons that were shot through the little slit in the double slit experiment, decide to be waves of potential or collapse themselves into digital bits of matter or information. And because of this, we understand that the entire universe is a wave of potentials. So waves of light moving out until a conscious observer collapses them into the illusion of reality.
Wow.
And so that's what we're living in, a fractal holographic light matrix.
That's the universe.
That's the universe, right.
How many dimensions are in this universe?
So the dimensions, so quantum physicists and theoretical physicists like Michio Kaku have been noted stating that there's at least 11 dimensions to create this entire realm, this universe. And that this universe is dimensions stacked right on top of each other. So at a 90 degree angle right above the third dimension is a fourth, and a 90 degree angle is a fifth. They're compactified. And yes, for anyone listening, that's a real word, compactified. And right on top of each other. They're less than even a Planck length away from each other. And the only thing separating these dimensions is a frequency. So imagine a being in a higher dimension, right? Being able to obtain the subatomic frequency of the third dimension. That being may be able to technologically maybe shift its frequency to match this dimension and walk right in. Could be apparitions, paranormal activity, aliens, who knows, right? We ourselves are trapped within this realm. We don't have the capability of changing our subatomic frequency to match higher dimensions. We just haven't developed that technology, or maybe we don't know it exists. But
we haven't figured out how to do it yet.
Right. The general public may not know how to do it.
Is this kind of like, if you could give an example for someone, they might be listening or watching right now thinking, I'm already lost. Is this kind of like in Interstellar, when McConaughey's character goes through the black hole and there's like kind of different stacked dimensions of time and space?
Correct.
Continuum? Is that
he gets to the black hole, he hits the event horizon, Now he's in time dilation, right? His spaceship falls apart. He falls into something called a tesseract, which is a fourth dimensional hypercube, or in ancient times known as Metatron's cube. Meta, sounds familiar? In that fourth dimensional hypercube, he's in a higher dimension than the third. So from any dimension higher than the third, you can see the past, present, and future all at once.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Any dimension higher, or is it just
any dimension higher?
4th, 5th, 6th, 11th?
That's right. Doesn't matter.
Interesting.
For example, we're in the third dimension. If you draw a line, well, you're witnessing the dimension of that single dimension. If you connect those lines and draw a house, you can see into every room of that house from the third dimension, right? And so you can draw people in different rooms in that house, and you can witness those people within that two-dimensional structure. From a higher dimension, it would be like someone looking at you in your house at different times of your life, which is what happened in Interstellar.
Interesting.
They can see you as a kid, a teenager, a grown adult, a married man, whatever, from different perspectives, all at the same exact time.
So Interstellar, kind of the movie itself, was it kind of made up sci-fi, or was it based on scientific evidence we have today?
It's based on scientific evidence we have today, which is what made it so incredible and why it resonated with so many people, because all this knowledge is resonating inside of every atom in our body already. You know, and what does it mean to humanity, right? What does this mean? It means that we're part of something incredibly great. We're part of something so vast. Some people may hear this and think, well, that means we're just a speck of dust. No, it means that we're connected to everything throughout the entire known universe, even connected through everything in the entire known multiverse. And it's a big grand play going on, and we have a huge part, a huge role in that. And everything we do here impacts the entire multiverse.
Really?
Yeah. The butterfly effect.
That's what the universe is.
It's a living being also.
The universe is a being.
It's a conscious being.
Really?
Yeah. So if you look at the Hermetic principles from ancient times, as above, so below, right? Also looking at it maybe even from the perspective of the microcosm and the macrocosm, understanding that everything is made of fractals, right? We're living in a fractal holographic matrix, and we're just a fractal of the universe as a whole. Now look at the human body, right? We have a brain. The brain is encased in this skull, which is in darkness. But the brain itself doesn't know really what's going on the outside. It has to connect with its friends, sight, taste, the sensory, for touch, you know, and everything else, and say, and hearing, go out and get the data. The friends go out and collect data, right? But they themselves can't decipher the data. They have to transmit that data via electrical signals back to the brain. The brain takes all that data in, sorts it all out, and projects a hologram up to what it believes is going on the outside, and we navigate this matrix based on a holographic projection from collected data. Now, the universe as a whole, go to the macro, is doing the same exact thing. When you zoom out from the universe, you see the way that the clusters of galaxies are compiled. It looks like neurons in a brain.
Really?
Yes. The exact same structure of the inside of a human conscious brain. And then what's incredible is you realize that the universe itself, being conscious, it doesn't really know what's going on here in the third dimension, but it has its friends, human beings, cats, dogs, a rose, a blade of grass, even a rock. And what is it doing? Everything we know in the third dimension vibrates at a specific frequency. You can't even come to a complete halt. You can't make an atom stop vibrating. Everything vibrates. It's impossible to get to absolute zero unless you create these artificial laboratory conditions. So that means that everything is resonating and vibrating and sending information, in my opinion, back to the source.
Even if something's dead, it's still alive?
The atoms in something dead are still vibrating. Really? Because they're still atoms. They may convert themselves into something different, like a dead thing may
moving.
It's moving, right? Even the atoms inside of burnt carbon, they're vibrating. The atoms inside of a dead body, they're vibrating, and they're getting ready to be recycled back into this grand system of life. And could become something else. This transformation occurs. Right? Nothing really ever truly dies. It just transforms.
So would you say the universe then has its own set of consciousness, or its own consciousness, and its friends are the planets, the stars, beings, trees, water,
right?
And it's sending data to the universe?
No, we're sending data back to yes, correct.
And
everything else is sending data back. We're transmitting it back because consciousness is not local to the brain. It's downloaded as a stream. The brain itself, the physical brain, is a quantum computer to process that data and harness that stream of spiritual energy. But we also are two-way. When we're transmitting back, what is it like to be Billy Carson? What is it like to be Lewis Howes? What lessons has Billy and Lewis learned throughout their entire life? Their experience. What experiences are they having, good and bad? It's collecting information.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're in the 3D right now.
Yeah.
What is the difference between the 3D and the 5D?
Okay. That's a great question. So the third dimension, I'll tell you first how scientists or what physicists believe this actually is. They created in the laboratory 8th-dimensional quasi-crystals. And those 8th-dimensional quasi-crystals, when turned to a particular angle, cast down a 4th-dimensional quasi-crystal. And when they twist that to a particular angle, it casts out a sphere, which is the shadow, a light shadow, a shadow of light from a higher dimension, which they believe is our known universe. So that we're talking about now beginning to understand the basic mechanism that's creating the universe itself, okay? So with that being said, understanding that, we now know that as you go up in dimensions, you're going up into higher levels of perception of realities. So you have the 4th dimension, which people used to think it was time, but that's just an arrow that we utilize here in the 3rd dimension. Technically, there is a 4th dimension called a tesseract. And above that tesseract, you get to the 5th dimension. It gives you even a more broader expansion of, or understanding or view of what's really going on in all the realms beneath it, in itself and also beneath it.
Wow.
So every time you step up a dimension, it's like becoming an ascended master. You're moving higher and higher through levels of consciousness. We know that even gravity, through science, they believe it's streaming down from higher dimensions all the way down to the 3rd, making it one of the weakest forces here in the 3rd dimension, because it's truncating all the way down through these other higher dimensions as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So is it possible for humans to get out of the 3rd dimension into a higher dimension?
There's a couple of different tablets that talk about this. In the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, he talks about being able to do this, being able to transcend dimensions through consciousness and actually having this out-of-body experience to take you to higher dimensions. He even gives the code words, which are really frequencies to utter to get through the gates of Arulu.
Wow.
Other ancients in India and Egypt and Asia, and even the indigenous cultures of the Aboriginals in Australia all have this same understanding that it's possible to transcend dimensions. They call it like becoming an ascended master,
wow,
or becoming a sage, and understanding how to tap into these higher dimensions. What's interesting is the Brain Institute, just a couple of years ago, discovered that the human brain connects to 11 dimensions.
That's crazy.
Consciously, we are connecting. So they also saw something incredible, that synapses, when they were watching these synapses, unexpectedly, they would vanish from the 3rd dimension. They would go somewhere, and then they would reappear randomly. So they're now hypothesizing that the human mind is also quantum entangling with information, data, or something else in another place, and then reappearing here. So wow, it just gets deeper and deeper.
I guess, where are our dreams then? What dimension are our dreams when we sleep?
That's incredible. I would always think that, from my perspective, that dreams are probably closer to reality.
Really?
Yeah. I think that, because the ancients, like the Aboriginals, call this dream time in this realm now. The Hopi tribe called this sleepy time. And what they're alluding to is that this reality, that this thing that we think is reality, is not real, but that we have a higher self in another realm. And that a lot of the times the voice we hear in our head that we are proclaiming as this other source, or maybe sometimes even other deity, really is our own self talking to us.
Wow.
And that there is another version of us that exists in a higher dimension, and we're spiritually connected with that higher source. And that dreams potentially are glimpses of higher dimensions, or being able to access some of these higher dimensions through consciousness.
You have so much content online that I've seen. We talk about these kind of, aliens and pyramids and kind of all these different things, different dimensions. But I think the stuff that I like the most that you talk about, and I think that my audience resonates with the most, is around manifesting their dream reality. Like, they have an idea in their mind of what they want to create.
Yeah.
A business, a relationship, get their health to a certain level. They want to achieve an accomplishment in a sport or musical or success, whatever it might be. They want to take something they have in their mind and alchemize it into the real world that we're in, if this is real, right? But they want to create it in this reality.
Yes.
And I'm curious, with all your studies, because you've been studying this for decades, about kind of ancient wisdom, forbidden wisdom.
Yeah.
But also you've been studying modern philosophy and modern, science as well.
Oh, yeah.
So what does the ancient wisdom you've researched and modern science taught you about manifesting?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. See, the ancient wisdom, you discovered that there were these beings in the ancient Sumerian cuneiform tablets, and they were called the Anuna, and later they were called the Anunnaki. And in there, some of them call themselves the ordainers of destiny. And what's so interesting about this is they actually had the capability of foreseeing potential outcomes based on whatever agenda they want to put out. But they would envision these potential outcomes. They would see them on this crystal tablet, which is so bizarre, first of all. This is 6,000 years ago, or maybe even more. But then when they found the outcome that they wanted to happen, they would then create action steps toward that particular outcome, nudging that outcome into reality, collapsing it into the reality tunnel, making it a part of this third dimension while they're alive and living on that timeline. And I learned that really from them. You know, I had done this myself by accident as a younger kid, just coming up with the idea like, if I want something, I've got to put action steps behind it. And I remember I was at my house and living in Opelika down in Miami, Florida, unincorporated Dade County, a very harsh neighborhood. And I was banned from leaving the front porch because the neighborhood was so deadly. But I was so tired of seeing my friends go to the ice cream truck. And I'm like, we're both poor. How can they get it every day? Like, how? And so I said to myself, I'm going to take a risk. And I got a Winn-Dixie milk crate that we had, and I loaded up all my toys, and I went door to door around the block and asked for donations for my toys, a penny, a nickel, a dollar, whatever. I just want to have money for the ice cream truck. And people were giving me money, these parents. When I got back to my front door, I actually had $13 and change. And I was like,
how old were you?
Wow. I was 7 years old.
7.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm sorry, 8 years old, or 8. Forgive me. 8 years.
That's a lot of money back in the 70s.
That was a lot of money.
As an 8-year-old,
yeah, that was a lot of money.
$13 at 8, you're rich.
Yeah, you're rich. And you had a lot of money because ice cream was like, I only wanted the bazooka bubble gums. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I had a conscious thought. I envisioned potential outcome would be I would have money in my hands to buy my gum from the truck, and I took action. So it's conscious thought multiplied by action equals manifestation, which I then read later in ancient text. That's what the shirt is. Wow. CT multiplied by A equals M. Conscious thought multiplied by action equals manifestation.
Wow.
That's the formula. And you can't get to that formula unless you go through that process. And these ancients knew this a very long time ago. And because they knew this, that reaffirmed in me, I can really create the reality that I want to be a part of. Yes, there will be things to come and blindside you. Yes, there will be things that will sidetrack you. Yes, there will be hurdles to overcome. But those things are all just problems that you have to find solutions to those problems. Instead of seeing those things as negative or this thing is attacking me or this is it, it's over for me. It's okay. We have a problem. Now, how can I be a part of the solution to this problem?
Wow.
And it's the trick is, how do you create solutions consistently to get to your end goal?
Yeah, and then I guess the follow-up question around that is, a lot of people don't even know what their dreams are, or they have a loose idea. I want to make $1 million, or I want to lose weight, or whatever it is. It's not fully clear. It's like they have a desire, or they have a pleasurous outcome that they see others have that they want, but they're not clear. You talk about the ancients used to have, I guess, whether it was a real crystal ball or just their metaphors of like, hey, we could see it in our minds, in a crystal ball in our mind, 7 different outcomes of how our life could play out.
Correct.
If we wanted it, if we went this path and this path. And then you talk about the conscious thought and the action, the consistent action to go manifest and alchemize that idea and collapse time and space until reality meets that thought. So how important, when wanting to manifest your goals and dreams, are our thoughts, our words, and our actions?
Yeah.
Should we be loosey-goosey with our thoughts and words to others, to ourselves? Is it act once in a while? Is it, is it obsession? Like, how important are thoughts, words, and actions and manifesting our dreams?
So what's important is understanding the power of the thoughts and the words, because when you really understand cymatic frequencies, which are the vibrations created by sound, through science, we've discovered that those cymatics, which have then consciousness piggybacked on them, have the ability to change reality. Dr. Masaru Emoto, the former scientist that created that water experiment, when he put water in jars and people would speak to the water, I love you, I hate you, and then you test that under a microscope, you see that I hate you didn't form into a nice crystal, but the I love you did form into a nice crystal. So it let us know that conscious thought and cymatic that come out of your throat, you literally have a double-edged sword in your mouth, like it says in the biblical text. You can alter realities. And so when people talk to me and they find out about these trips that I go on, all these crazy places that I go visit and take tours to, they go, one day I might be able to go. Oh, I hope I can go. Man, I wish I can go. I don't have any money right now. I'm broke, but maybe one day I'll never be able to make it. They just canceled that reality from their future. They took that potential opportunity, that potential outcome, that superposition in quantum physics, and they collapsed it and they moved it out of the way. And yes, it will never happen if they keep that same mindset and they keep speaking those same words, because they've just collapsed it. They've talked to themselves. Their subconscious now believes what they said. Their cells took in that vibration and that frequency, and they've celebrated to that negative frequency. That means this is never going to happen, and they've accepted it. So they're going to do everything within their power to keep you in that particular frame where that never occurs or never comes into your timeline. But when you begin to realize these mistakes of mistalking and talking bad about yourself and not understanding that you're speaking your existence into reality, then you change your speech. And when you change your speech, you instantly start creating new connections in the brain. Your DNA begins to rewrite itself, and your cells begin to celebrate on the right frequency. And now you begin to bring these things into your reality.
What are the words we should never say about ourselves?
I suck. I hate myself. I'm no good. I'm not good at this. Instead of saying things like that, I'm not good at this, or I suck, or I'm horrible, I'm a bad person, I'm crazy, all these things that we just throw around like it's not even a big deal. We don't realize how much we're hurting ourselves, a detriment to ourselves and even our body. We have to reword ourselves. It's something you're not good at. Don't say I suck at this. Say, I'm not that great at this, but I'm going to work to become better, Like, for example, I came down with pneumonia about now 10 weeks ago. I'm in like a couple weeks of recovery left on this, and I actually almost died in Turkey.
Wow.
Just a few weeks ago, I was in a near-death experience in the hospital going to septic shock.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy cow, man.
Yeah.
We could have rescheduled this.
That's okay. I rescheduled so much stuff already. I was like, I got to get back out there.
Wow.
But the point I'm making is every time somebody talks to me about it, I don't say, man, I'm still sick, man, I'm still suffering with this thing. I say, I'm coming along. I'm getting better. Still suffering a little bit, but I'm working it out. I'm feeling a little bit better. My voice is coming back. My weight's coming back. It's just an understanding of, as you can see, it's affecting me a little bit, but it's an understanding of like, yeah, I'm getting better. And I'm telling my body consistently. And I lost 22 pounds in 2 weeks. I went down to 200 pounds, and now I'm back to 215. So, in that short period of time, I was able to gain back almost more than, the weight that I lost. And I can feel like I can get back to 225 if I really wanted to now.
Wow.
But again, it's just that belief that I have in myself. I'm back working out, back walking again, exercising, doing my thing. But I could have succumbed to this and told myself, this thing took me over. I almost died. And it's, I don't know. I don't have the energy, the strength to walk. My wife said, we got to go for a walk outside. I couldn't walk past 3 palm trees. That was like maybe 20 feet. And so from 20 feet to a quarter of a mile, to a mile, to 2 miles, all the way to 5 miles. Huh. But pushing and realizing this is going to make me better. I'm going to overcome this instead of succumbing to it. A lot of people, their talk allows them to consciously and subconsciously succumb to situations, to things that they want to bring into their life, to relationships, to finances, to whatever it is.
Yeah.
They don't understand how powerful their words really are.
It's like you're commanding against yourself.
Correct.
I suck. I'm horrible. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm a horrible person.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say that and just put it out there, but as an example.
Yeah, we're saying it.
Well, it's the sad thing is I used to say that to myself all the time as a kid.
Yeah, I'm guilty.
To myself, to others, about me for the first 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
Maybe more consistently in times than others. And so I feel bad for the younger version of me that I treated myself that way. And I was blocking peace, freedom, opportunities.
Yeah.
And I still was, quote unquote, successful and accomplishing a lot. And I'm always like, man, I wonder what I could have done.
Yeah.
Had I been kinder to myself.
Yeah.
Had I spoken differently about me. And had I viewed myself differently. And I think people get mixed up in thinking, well, I want to make sure I'm humble and I don't want to speak like I have this God or I have this big ego or something like that, or I'm untouchable. And so it's figuring out a balance of how to communicate with self in a loving, compassionate way.
Yeah.
Without being like, I'm the best in the world and no one's better than me, or whatever it is. It's there's a fine line to that.
There's a fine line. There's a gray line that you walk there, because you always want to have confidence in yourself, the ultimate confidence in yourself. I think the biggest problem that a lot of people have, they don't believe in themselves.
Right.
They really don't believe in themselves. And they're always looking for an outside source to come and fix their problems when they're the one that's going to fix the problem.
If someone that does not believe in themselves, in their dreams coming true, what is going to happen?
Well, they're going to go into this frequency where they're going to begin to attract everything on that same frequency. So everything that becomes a situation, that becomes another situation, they're going to have a problem for every solution, right? And it's just going to feel like they're going down this deep, dark hole and they can't climb back out. When they have to realize the first thing they have to do, number one, is they have to learn how to forgive themselves. Mm. This is the biggest reason why people don't believe in themselves, because they feel like they've done things that happened in the past and they could have did this way, they could have went that way. This was wrong, that was wrong, whatever it was. To go into the mirror and look at yourself and talk to yourself. A lot of people aren't comfortable with themselves.
It's so true, man.
And to say, man, you screwed up. But guess what? I forgive you. I forgive you, and I bring love, I bring peace, I bring joy. Now let's analyze why we did this. Let's analyze what's behind this screw up. Okay, all right, we understand now. Now let's learn from this. What can we gain? What knowledge can we gain from this situation? And how can we not ever repeat this again? Now you've just been born again in the spirit. Now you've just grown consciously. Wow. And you can look back on your previous self and see you were here, but now you're here.
Gosh, a perfect example, it was a year and a half ago. I did this exact exercise. And my fiance, Martha, she told me to do it.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, this is kind of silly or whatever. But I was in so much pain for 3 months. I had, when I was 16, I had 8 teeth removed.
Oh, wow.
4 here, then 4 wisdom. So 4 wisdom, but then 4 others, because when I was a teenager, my teeth were kind of crowded or whatever. Okay. And that was what they did back then. Yeah. They removed all your teeth, and you were supposed to have, I didn't get braces afterwards. I was supposed to.
Yeah.
And so my jaw kind of grew in and collapsed, where my back teeth never touched. They still barely touch today.
Wow.
And so I waited 20 years until I put those 4 teeth back in with implants.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had to do bone grafts, and it was a painful process. And one of the implants ejected.
Oh, no.
After a month. So it was in my bone. It just wasn't healing, and it came out one night. God. So they had to do it again.
Oh, man.
6 months later, all this stuff, right? And my head was throbbing for months. I was on medicine, which I never take medicine, but it was in so much pain.
You have to take it. That's too much.
I had to. It was throbbing constantly right here.
Yeah.
And after months, she goes, you need to look in the mirror and you need to forgive yourself. You need to forgive yourself for what you did to yourself 20 years ago. Yeah. You need to forgive yourself for doing this now, even though it's bettering you. Yeah. But you need to love and accept yourself for what you've been through and forgive. Yeah. And she was like, I want you to walk into the bathroom right now and don't come out until you follow the entire process that you just said.
Wow.
And I kid you not, I cannot make this up. I was in throbbing pain for months. Within moments after having this conversation, the pain was gone. I get chills just saying it, because I was just like, I don't know many people, it's very vulnerable to look yourself in the eyes in the mirror and say, I love you, I forgive you, you matter, you're enough, you're deserving of peace, freedom, health, love, and I forgive you for everything you've done.
Yeah.
It is so powerful. So I'm glad you said this, because I have a personal experience to it.
Incredible.
That got an instant result. I'm not saying it's going to be instant for everyone, but I felt an instant relief of pain into freedom by forgiving myself, which was the first step that you talked about. So I think a lot of people, they always hold on to the past. They never forgive.
Right.
And so that's part of your, I guess, formula for manifesting what you want, or for creating the life that you want to create, is starting with forgiveness.
Yeah.
What if you've done horrible things?
Yeah. Well, you just have to still forgive yourself. I mean, horrible. If somebody, I'm from the 70s, right? I'm a 70s baby. So, falling down and getting a huge gash on my body or something like that and playing for the rest of the day is not even a big deal. And they go drink some water hose and wash it off with a water hose from somebody's house.
Yeah.
In this day and age that it happens, a lot of kids, they couldn't handle it. They'd panic, the mother would rush them to the hospital right away. They got to go get it disinfected and get stitches and injections of tetanus shots and everything. But does that make my trauma less than their trauma? We both received that trauma. I suppressed the trauma, and so that trauma's still in my body. When you go and do this, when you do this forgiveness, thing, what happens is you're clearing trauma from your body. You can't really manifest if you're full to the top with trauma. You need space.
Yes.
And as you begin to address the shadow work within yourself, the space becomes more and more clear. I had to learn this from my wife, Elizabeth. I mean, if without her, I wouldn't have even known that. I was suffering from a lot of trauma from my childhood.
Really?
Seeing people get murdered in the street and seeing people get stabbed, from getting shot myself and stabbed in my back from trying to protect my house in Miami. Just various things that have happened over time. And this just builds up a lot of trauma. Watching my parents argue a lot and a lot of like negativity in the house, dysfunctional situations. That trauma was still in my body, even though I was acting normal and I was suppressing and acting like, oh man, just whatever, that's just life, it's all good. That's how we grew up. That's how it was back then. But no, that's really inside of me. So you have to begin to go and address that trauma, and you have to look at it, which is hard. It's hard to look at it, and when it comes back up, man, it can get you real emotional. But it cleared more space in my body, and it gave me the ability to become even a better manifester of my reality, to manifest my abundance, to really embrace my talents and my gifts and thrive with them. There was something holding me back. As good as I was doing, there was so much more, and there still is much more. It never ends.
So on a scientific level, what is our body made of then?
Well, the body primarily is made of about 70% water. And so when you go back to the water experiment with the somatic frequencies and the conscious thought, well, what's your body doing? Your body, the water in your body is absorbing your conscious thoughts. See, every thought you think leaves your skull. It doesn't just go and stay inside this little area. It leaves the skull, and it leaves the skull in all directions.
Really?
Yes.
How does it break through the skull, the bone?
It's a wave of light. See, I could put an EEG cap on your head, just sit it right on top of your head, and I can see all your thoughts on a computer. How'd that happen? The thoughts left your skull and went into the little sensors and then got sent to a computer. No surgery needed. So we know that this is leaving our head. Just like radio waves from the I Love Lucy show in the 1960s are still traveling through space as waves. If I can decode those waves light years away, I can watch I Love Lucy. It's the same frequency. Wow. And your thoughts are all out there. Every thought you've ever thought from the beginning of your first thought is existing on this energetic grid. That's the book of life. That's the Akashic record.
I had some bad thoughts out there in the past, man. I had some bad thoughts out there in the past, man.
Well, we all have. Every thought's leaving your skull, and it's out here for eternity in this energetic grid. The thoughts are all there, you see? And so they're leaving your skull, they're penetrating out, but they're also going down, out, in through the body. And of course, the words we speak are also creating these frequencies that doesn't matter what language it is, the cells understand that frequency.
So is it the cell, because they're just sounds, right? And it's like in a different language, a swear word might be a loving word.
Yes.
In a different language.
It's the intention.
So is it the intention and the awareness of the meaning?
Exactly.
It's like the awareness we give the sound and how it feels and resonates within us.
That's it. The conscious thought is piggyback on the somatic frequency, so it doesn't matter what you're speaking. It's the intention of that word. The water now takes on that water in the body. It takes that information and it processes it. And it understands negative or positive. And now you begin to get sick on the inside of it. It's too much negativity. We know that what happens with doctors will tell you, if you go to your doctor, oh man, your stress is giving you an ulcer. This stress is giving you cancer. If you have an autoimmune problem, you get stressed out, it brings the autoimmune response out in your body. So we know that the body is responding to exterior, influence.
Or in how we interpret exterior influence.
Exactly. How do you interpret the exterior?
Because every event is just kind of neutral if you look at it. I mean, we make it a horrible or positive event.
Correct.
Like we interpret, someone's dying or someone got shot by someone intentionally. That we make it a horrible event. And I'm not discounting that.
I know what you mean.
But how we resonate with that energetically, we're feeling that.
Right.
And I think it's totally fine to feel compassionate and something is wrong based on our society and all these different things. I'm not condoning someone being murdered, but it's like we interpret the event as being a positive or negative or neutral. And it's our interpretation. If we ruminate on that interpretation for long enough and we don't clear that energy, then it will make us sicker or make us more loving.
Exactly.
If we ruminate on a positive experience, we're going to feel more abundant, more loving.
Absolutely.
Right? It's the rumination of the meaning that we give the event.
Right. That's facts.
So if you have experienced traumas in your life and you either block them, stuff them, don't bring them up, whatever it might be, they're still in your body is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes, they're still in your body.
Even if you're like, well, I'm just going to go learn more and succeed more and make money and whatever it might be, that hasn't left your body.
Right.
When does it start to leave your body? Is that when you start to forgive yourself?
Yeah, when you start to, that's why I say the first thing, like if somebody can follow this process and the first thing is forgive themselves, that starts the clearing process. That starts the body to get into alignment with this healing process, right? And then from there, to begin to speak positive affirmations about yourself every single day. If you can write down positive affirmations, at least, maybe 9. There's one particular exercise where you have down 9 positive affirmations, and you speak them out loud 6 times a day for 21 days. Scientists have proved in an actual laboratory setting that the DNA in the human body, and people can look this up, begins to rewrite itself.
Come on.
Yes, that's real.
Wow.
Absolute real. And this is something anybody could look up.
I got to find this.
Peer-reviewed science.
I got to find this.
Yes. Speaking positive affirmations 21 days, your DNA begins to actually rewrite itself. So now you are the creator of your own destiny. You are rewriting the DNA inside of your own body. Now, what is DNA? DNA is a storage medium. It stores information.
It's data.
Yes, data. George Church, a scientist, took 1 gram of DNA, which is just a drop, and he said, I wonder if this can store information in the volume. So he took his ebook, and he actually took his ebook and he converted it from zeros and ones into A's, T's, and G's, and downloaded it directly onto the DNA.
Come on.
Yes.
What is the DNA, like a cell or a drop of blood, or what is that? What is like
DNA? It's the DNA of the human body. He was able to take
like a cell or
1 gram of it. No, it's not a cell. Smaller than a cell. It's inside. It's what creates the cells and everything. It creates everything in the human body. It's the smallest thing that one of the smallest things that exists to make up the human form.
And he downloaded his ebook into that little DNA.
1 drop, and then he replicated it 80 billion times.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm dead serious. And this is a book with multimedia in it too. It's not just a regular standard text.
Do that?
And then he listened to that study. Then he changed it from A's, T's, and G's back into zeros and ones and uploaded it back to the server again. So
that's not even possible.
Yeah. So now, but listen to what Microsoft did. Microsoft is heavily involved in it. So they went and formed and created the very first DNA hard drive, where you have molecular and you have hard tech working together to create storage capacity. 1 gram, 1 drop can store 433 petabytes of data.
I don't even know what that means.
A petabyte is 1,000 terabytes.
Wow.
Okay. And they discovered that the human body can store about 13.5 billion years of data, which is roughly around the time they believe the universe even exists. So all the secrets and mysteries of the known universe are hidden inside of our body.
That is crazy.
And that says that in the myth of Adapa, there's an ancient text called the myth of Adapa where it says just that exact same thing, which is just crazy. The correlation between the two, modern science and the ancient text. The ancients knew what we're just finding out.
What is the positive affirmation that you say to yourself daily?
I am the architect of my life. That's number one. I want to know that I'm the architect. I'm creating my reality. I'm, good or bad, I'm the one that's directing it, right? I'm the architect. And I will say that, I'm worthy. I want to understand and feel worthiness, because the way that I grew up and the people I grew up around didn't really feel worthy of anything. They felt like they were just trying to survive on a daily basis. Can we make it through this day? Can we make it through that day? No, I'm worthy of abundance. So I'm worthy of abundance, right? I'm worthy of great relationships. I'm worthy of great family. I'm worthy of happiness. I want to be happy. I don't want to be sad. I don't want to be stressed out. I want happiness in my life, especially when I get to my age now. I'm 53, right? I just want to be happy, man. I just want peace. Look, man, you know what I'm saying? I don't want no drama. I don't want stress. It's still going to come. But overall, the balance is there where I have more peace than stress, which is where I want to be. And I'm manifesting that on a daily basis. Right?
When did that shift for you to going from survival mode internally and like probably everyday thinking, how do I just survive? Whether you were thinking that or just being it, survival mode, from either trauma or literal, we don't have money, we need to figure out how to survive. When did that shift for you in saying, this survival mode way of thinking and being isn't serving me of creating abundance anymore? Because a lot of people watching or listening might feel like I'm stuck or in survival mode in some area of my life. In my relationship, I'm in survival mode. Every day, it's up and down.
Right.
My career, my boss is crazy. Every day, it's up and down. My business, it's every day. I don't know if I'm going to bring in a client or not. My health, it's a yo-yo diet every time. I'm in survival mode. How does someone, when did you learn to get out of survival mode in order to create abundance? And what does the process look like for someone watching or listening to shift and make a different intention moving forward that no longer you're going to be in survival mode?
Gotcha. For me, honestly, I was so fortunate it started when I was very young. 1978, down in Miami, Florida, I sold those toys. And I never forget this. When I got done selling my toys door to door, I said to myself out loud, I spoke this, I said, it's me that's going to save me. I just realized it at that moment.
At 8 years old.
Yeah. At 8 years old, I realized, like, wow, it's me. And I went in the house that day, and I was standing out looking out the little window, and my mom came over and said, "What's wrong, son?" I said, "I don't belong here, and I'm getting out."
Really?
Yeah. I
Come
knew it.
on.
I'm dead serious. I knew it. I just said to myself, I don't belong here. I had experienced something. I realized something magical for me. You know, back then, you got to remember, I didn't have a lot of distractions. No TV, no cable. TV didn't even exist yet. None of these things. And I was just like this there, realizing, like, if I have an idea and I act on that idea, I can get a result. Something can happen positive for me. And this is what happened. I got money in my hand. I took a picture with the money in my hand with a Polaroid camera. And, and I was like, this is crazy. And so from that moment, I said to myself, I'm going to get out of here. I had hope. Up to that moment, I really didn't have a lot of hope. But at that moment, I realized I had hope. It wasn't instantaneous, but I knew that these things would happen. And so not many years later, I was 12. My dad called me in the room, and he said, "Son, from this point forward, I'm not going to buy you any more school clothes, any more school supplies, and you got to pay $100 a month in rent."
At 12?
12 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
At 12 years old. And I was like, well, I only got 2 pair of pants anyway, and my shoes have holes in them. I had holes in my socks. I would put cardboard in my shoe to keep my feet from touching the street. I hardly ever wear open toes till this day because my toes were jammed up in these shoes so much, man, I damaged my feet. So you'll rarely see me in any kind of open toe shoe. But the point being is that we were already struggling. So to me, it was like, okay, well, what I got to do? He said, well, here's the Miami News. And in there were a classified ad section, and they were hiring 12 to 16-year-olds to sell the newspaper subscriptions. Not the paper delivery, but to sell the subscription. So I had experience in this already. They drop you off in a neighborhood until you go square the block. That means go door to door until you get back to this corner. I had already done that selling my toys. I got a little training in, right?
Yeah.
So I was doing that. I became the #1 salesperson. My friends were blowing their little $150 checks, every couple of weeks, and I was saving my money. And I only bought one thing, a digital calculator watch from Kmart, and it had the little black, readout. And my friend said, why'd you buy that watch? I said, because this is the future. I said, matter of fact, we were sitting in his dad's car. I said, this analog radio is going to change. These numbers are going to be on that screen one day. And he laughed at me. A week later, I went to the grocery store, and there was a magazine called Opportunity Magazine, which is still in business today. And I opened it up, and the page I opened it up to was Galaxy Electronics out of New York City, still in business. And they were selling wholesale digital car stereos. I had the money. So the saving, seeing the future, I'm going to need this for something because I can't blow this on trash. I invested that money into those radios.
Wow.
Back then it was COD, if you remember, cash on delivery. I called up the company. I ordered the radios. The guy said, "You sound kind of young." I said, I just have a cold. Nothing to lose because he's sending me COD. The UPS man takes the money. He closes it in a little tight packet. He gives me my radios. I sell the radios to upperclassmen in school. Word gets out. I start selling radios like you wouldn't believe. Now I've got people coming from the Tri-County area to buy radios from me at my house. I keep reinvesting back into the business. By the time I was 13, I was making more than my parents.
Wow. So
I'm maximizing now, right? Now I found a guy at the GBT Audio who lived on my same street, hired him as the installer because they weren't treating him good. I said, come work for me, man. You'll have a lot more freedom. He's installing at my house. Now I'm installing right in front of my house. I'm selling them and installing them. Nobody can beat my prices because I have no overhead.
Right.
Just what I'm reinvesting. But understanding, like, I'm creating this. And I think for a lot of people that begin to get stuck and feel like they just can't get over the hump in anything that they're doing, they have to look at one thing, themselves in the mirror. We keep looking for this thing that's going to come and rescue us. One day my boss is going to recognize my worth and give me this big raise. No, maybe you need to recognize your worth and start investing your spare time and some of your extra money that you've been blowing on things you don't need into building something on the side so that you can generate a revenue and some income, some passive income for yourself, and eventually surpass what the boss is giving you, and then break out and start your own company and build something big for yourself and be proud of yourself. You're going to work a lot of hours, put a lot of time in, have a lot of stress, but it's yours, okay? And you're not going to fire yourself, and you're going to be able to take care of yourself better. If it's a relationship situation, I was in very many bad relationships over the years. I started to realize that a giver and a taker, when they meet, they get into a relationship. So
I was a giver in every relationship.
Bro,
man.
me too.
It sucked the life out of me.
Listen, it destroyed me almost. It almost took me out. And I had to come to terms that it's me that's creating these relationships by getting into relationships and getting on the frequency of what does not serve me. And when I realized that, I said, oh my God, it's me that's creating and putting myself in these situations. It's not them. Forget being mad at the ex. It's me that's doing this to me. So what I do, I went out, started meditating on finding a giver. And I ended up finding a giver.
Dude, me too.
Oh, man.
Dude, it's the greatest gift in the world.
It's so much.
When there's two givers together, it's like exponential.
Yeah,
you're not drained.
When I met my giver, which is my wife, Elizabeth, the company went from here and just exploded.
Wow.
Because the frequency, the energy, her knowledge, my knowledge, we're building together. We're on, everything is just synchronous and just working out for the best good of both of us. Instead of one trying to drain one and hold one back and being jealous and envious of one, both are on the same frequency.
I know that world, man.
That was tough, bro. It was tough.
So the affirmation that you say to yourself is, I'm worthy of abundance, I'm worthy of love, of happiness, of a healthy relationship, and I am the creator of my destiny, essentially. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, I'm the architect of my life.
I'm the architect of my life.
I feel this foundation and filled its. I found it. I build this foundation and I fuel its power.
So these are the affirmations that you say. Yeah. How much of your success is related to the principle of affirmations, would you say?
I would say the majority of it.
Really?
Because
just speaking it into existence.
Speaking it, because I feel like I'm commanding realities. I feel like the same spark that created everything in the known universe, from the divine, from God, whatever you want to call it, is in every single atom in my body. And if I'm a fractal of that God consciousness, then I also have a certain amount of power over this realm. And to not relinquish my power to outside sources, to understand and accept that power and walk in that power. So I command my prayer. When I pray, I command realities into existence. When I get on an airplane, I don't hope and beg and wish that my plane makes it to its destination. I say I commanded my plane takes off safely, and I commanded this plane to land safely. And I envision the flight path in my head, and that's the end of the prayer. There is nothing else to say, because I believe in the end before the end, you see? And so little things like that. So I'm always working on, how do I command my power, the divine power that's been given and granted to me, my birthright. And I experiment with it all the time.
I love this and I believe in this because I do this as well, but I can already see people are watching and listening saying, okay, I'm going to command that I make $1 million in the next month because I see this reality and I'm going to take the actions, but it's not happening. I've been commanding it for years and these things aren't happening. I'm still stuck. So how can you command the reality you want to manifest while also not being attached if it doesn't happen and the timeline that you want?
Well, there's two things with that. The first thing is preparation. So you have to find out what your passion is, number one. A lot of people are trying to manifest money in areas where they're not even passionate about. If you're not passionate about being a podcaster and you're trying to become a millionaire from being a podcaster, it's not going to happen, right? And a lot of people are working outside of their passion.
Or it might happen and then you sabotage it, or you're unhealthy, or you're not happy with it, or something bad happens.
It's just so bad. It's so you don't even want to go to work, even though it could be making money. I know people like that as well. They're making money, but they're not happy. They're always complaining to me. And one of them was a billionaire.
Wow.
But he's so sick on the inside. He's always got health issues. But find your passion, number one. What are you passionate about? And if you don't know, write down everything that you like to do, everything you think you'd like to do, things you're interested in on a piece of paper. Then flip that paper over and begin to organize those in the order of preference. And then if it's something that you think should be at the top, but you're not good at, go learn how to do that and learn how to do it very, very well.
Yes.
Then you're going to find a need for that passion in the world, because the secret to making money is to find a need and fill it. So you find a need for that passion. Who needs that passion? What company, what person needs that product or service or whatever it is you're providing? When you find that, you exchange energy with them, and then money becomes a side effect. So you never chase the money. Don't focus on making $1 million. Don't focus on making $20 million. Focus on living within your passion and providing that passion to the world, and the money will show up. It's just an instrument, which is a side effect of your energy exchange.
100%. And being of service, adding value.
Right.
This is something I wanted to follow up with on the previous question. Well, I'm not sure where this ties in, but this came to me, and I wanted to mention it. Well, actually, I do know your affirmation of, I'm the creator. What is it again? I'm the architect, right?
My life, yeah.
And you were mentioning before that how I'm not a victim in needing other people to provide for me, right? Or needing other people to save me or rescue me. It's more, I'm the architect.
Yeah.
This is probably going to piss off a lot of people because I don't watch news, but I do see people sending me clips of content here and there, and I know what's happening in the world.
Right.
There's seems to be in the last 5 years a heightened race war, a heightened gender war, and a political war.
Yeah.
Where it's someone or someones or groups have more power than others, have more rights than others. And I'm not here to justify who has what or what not, but there always seems to be groups of people that say, you're not giving me what I want or what I deserve or what I need. Yeah. And it's your fault, and you need to give me these rights or this type of understanding or this type of benefits, whatever it might be.
Right.
What happens for people that come from that space? Is there power in that race war, political war, gender war, whatever it might be, if someone's coming from that space?
Yeah. You mean in terms of the people who are complaining about the situation, or the people that are putting the boot on the neck?
People that are complaining about the situation.
Right. The complainers.
Or saying like, I'm a victim to this situation, whatever it might be.
Right. What can I do?
Yes.
Right.
And you need to change to give me more of this.
Right. Right.
You need to change for me to have more, to be accepted more, to be whatever, have more rights, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Right. Right. Coming from where I came from, it's so hard for me to say or make a hard statement that every single person can't find some level of solace or success within wherever they are, no matter where they live on the planet. I understand that there's wars going on. You can't stop somebody else from shooting a bomb and blowing up your whole apartment building. Things like that happen, and it's very sad, unfortunate. But at the same time, you have to always learn how to make the most of every situation that you're dealt with, right? So it's learning how to, maybe they're not living in a nice clean condo overlooking a lake in the backyard, but they've got now a solid roof over their head. They found a way to navigate the system. They made the right collaborations and connections within their little small, war-drawn community to be able to provide at least some level of security and safety for themselves. They have food to eat. They have water to drink. Things like that. There's different levels of abundance, and I try to tell people all the time, when I say I want to manifest abundance, or abundance is your birthright, everyone's not going to be a billionaire.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. But are your daily needs met? Are you succumbing to the situation? And some people off themselves, whatever you want to call it. Or some people in some of these other countries, they sell their kids. I mean, all these things because they feel like just can't handle the situation. Or are you a fighter? Are you in here to really go to battle on the spiritual realm and take claim of what's really yours and find a way, no matter what, to make it work? And I know for some people that may be suffering, that sounds like, oh man, this guy doesn't know what we're going through. He doesn't understand. Well, maybe I don't particularly know exactly what you are going through. But what I do see from where I came from, I go back to those old neighborhoods sometimes just to ride through and just experience what happened so I can remember and never get back to this.
Right.
And so many of them people are gone and they're in caskets. They're in prison. A few of them are shot. They got bullet wounds. A couple of my friends are paralyzed for life. All these things, and you're looking around and they're still there. I have relatives still in that same exact neighborhood, and I'm going, why are you here? No, we can't get out. There's nothing we can do. It's this mindset of acceptance of the current situation versus a mindset of how can I figure out a way to become better for myself and my family, and to try to even navigate the situation and maybe even try to find a way to escape or get out of the situation.
Yes.
When we talk about things like, for example, in slavery times, I feel like I'm the slave that, I don't even want to call it slave, I'm the free man that never got on the boat. Because I'm going to die trying. I'm not the one that jumped off in the ocean. I'm not the one that came here and got in a situation. I'm the one that never got on the boat. And sometimes you just have to be the person that breaks that matrix code, that reprograms and just finds a way no matter what, whether it means you get reincarnated to the next level or not. That's just my mindset. But I think a lot of people, they just succumb to the situation and they lose hope.
Yeah, and I guess there's a price you pay for any decision you make.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a consequence and there's a benefit to any decision you might make.
Principle of cause and effect. Every decision you make is going to have a consequence, whether it's a good consequence or a bad consequence, but there will be a consequence.
100%.
Yeah.
So we've got these, I'm just kind of walking through these steps right now. Forgive yourself, speak positive affirmations, and really own that you are the architect of your life. Is there any other steps that you would add to this to, having a formula for manifestation?
Mm-hmm. Well, the next step is, you've got to have the conscious thought of what you want to manifest. And you have to be very specific. A lot of people are very ambiguous with what they want to bring into their reality. Like a guy came to me one time and he said he wanted to, he needed a new car. And I said, well, what kind of car do you want? Oh, something around 20, 25,000.
Right.
Well, that's not you tell me nothing. And so if you're telling me nothing, you tell the universe absolutely nothing, right? So I said, you need to go to a car dealer, test drive the car, find one within your budget, find one you like, learn the color, the make, the model, the wheels, are they alloy, are they steel? What kind of exhaust? What kind of stereo system does it have? Does it connect to aux or does it have Bluetooth? You need to know all these things. Is it pleather, leather, right? Is it, whatever it is, understand and know this car as if it's yours already because it is yours. I said, the next thing you do is you're going to meditate on this car. You're not going to meditate as you're trying to get the car. You're going to meditate as if you own the car. So in this meditation, you're actually driving the car. You feel the keys in your hands. You put them in the ignition. You turn the ignition on. If there's a start button, you push that button. You drive it to your friend's house. You drive it to your family's house within the meditation. And you show off your brand new car to them. Hey, look, you want to go for a ride around the block in my new car? You pull up back to your house or your apartment, wherever you live, and you get out of the car and you lock it. And you go in the house and you look out of the window and look back at the car because it's your car. And then what's going to happen is the universe is going to start to collaborate with you. Opportunities are going to begin to present themselves to give you the opportunity to get the money that you need to come down with the down payment, to make the payment on the car and everything else. But you have to see those opportunities because windows open and doors open, but they also close. And the biggest part about not manifesting or losing the manifestation opportunity is not recognizing the things that will lead to the end result. Just kind of waiting for the end result to appear magically. No, there's steps to take. There's are the goals to set, action steps to take, recognition of collaboration opportunities, recognition of someone who's going to lead you to this person that will lead you to this goal to get you to what you need to put down in this car. So it's just now this awareness takes place as you flow and vibe with the universe. And then before you know it, that car's in your driveway.
Wow. And
I've got so many dozens of people that have contacted me from my manifestation workshops that I've done. And they send me the pictures of their cars and their houses and everything else that they've been able to manifest. And not just material things, sending me pictures of you smiling and having a great time with the family, having a good time, stress-free life, right? Going places, traveling, living your dreams.
Yes.
Not just, material things.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think about abundance in the external world, but they don't work on the abundance in the inner world.
Yes.
In which everything is the inner game.
Yes.
This world is about mastering the inner world first.
Correct.
And the more that we master it, and I don't know if we ever fully master the inner world that has 13.5 billion bits of information of the history of the world. I mean, it's like so much to master, but the more we can understand, again, be on a healing journey of our past, and at least accepting and forgiving those things, right?
Yeah.
To clear space energetically throughout our body and our mind's consciousness.
Right.
The more we can start reprogramming ourselves to speak positively, whether it be affirmations or just conscious words into the world, the more we can have powerful intentions with our actions, to being consistent with those actions, to get us out of the place where we feel stuck or trapped into a new field of possibility.
Right.
And visualizing this end result that you talk about, meditating on it consistently, this entire journey together of working on the inner world and seeing what we want to come to reality, I feel like that's when you collapse time and you manifest faster. But if you're just thinking, I need more, I want more, I'm only working external as opposed to internal, it's going to be stressful. It's going to be harder. It's going to take longer. You might still get it. It's just going to take more time.
Yeah, you're not going in the flow. Like that famous scene in Doctor Strange where the master, she says, you can't beat a river into submission. You have to take its energy and flow as its own. So you've had to go with the flow of the river, kind of a break of the quote there, but it's similar to that.
Yeah.
But what she's saying is, you can't beat it into submission. And this universe is a flow, an energetic flow. And you just got to get on the same frequency of what you're trying to attract. When you begin to realize you're bringing everything towards you, you're collapsing realities into existence versus chasing things, it becomes so much easier.
When someone has a mindset of I'm chasing after my goal versus attracting it, what happens?
Well, what happens is you find that there's so many more obstacles that appear or pop up, things that hinder you. Also, so many more distractions arise. But when you realize that you're here to attract the goal, attract those benchmarks, attract that happiness into your life, you then take a journey to inner space. And when you're working within yourself, you're clearing space. You're doing shadow work. you're doing forgiveness, you're speaking affirmations, you're writing things down, you're preparing, you're planning. It's all in here. Everything happens here first. Nothing manifests on the outside without conscious thoughts. So if for example, just this table, right? Somebody thought about it'd be nice to have a round table so people can have a discussion and sit and across from each other and talk. So this person saw this table in his multi-dimensional platform. He then collapsed it from multiple dimensions into 2 dimensions by drawing it on a piece of paper or putting it into a computer-assisted design. It's still 2D, even though it looks 3D. From there, once he gets it exactly like he wants it, he sends that instruction on that blueprint, or that architecture, right, over to an engineer who then manifests it into 3-dimensional reality that can move around on the XYZ axis, and now we have this table here. But what we're doing when we're looking at this table and sitting at it, we're looking at a multi-dimensional thought that existed in someone's mind.
Isn't that powerful?
That's powerful. And we all have that power. So when people say, I don't know what this guy's talking about manifesting reality, well, there would be nothing here. This jacket, this table, right? Your watch, your bracelet, nothing would exist. This chair we're sitting in wouldn't even be here because these are all things that are manifested from conscious thought. So we're creating reality every single day and we don't even realize it. We're taking it for granted.
It's amazing.
Yeah. That's powerful.
It's amazing. Is there any other elements to this process that you would add?
I would just add follow through,
Yeah.
You got to follow through. Sometimes people are trying to get a little tired towards the end and they're like, well, it didn't happen this last 4 or 5 weeks. I'm going to stop saying my affirmations. Just keep going, man. Just stay in the system. Keep working on yourself. Keep the positive affirmations going. Keep being of service to others. Keep being the light of the world. Keep working on yourself. And keep taking action steps towards your goal.
And I would say, just to add to that, and maybe it's the last thing, and you probably already have this in your process as well, is when you receive, really express gratitude.
Oh, that's so important.
When you get a baby step in progress,
yeah.
I'm so grateful for this process and the progress that I'm making every single day, even though it doesn't feel like a lot. I know it's so much farther than where I once was.
Absolutely.
And being grateful for how far you're coming.
Yes.
It's never going to feel like it's happening fast enough.
Yeah.
It's never. You always be like, I wish it could happen faster, right? And I think you're just resisting the flow. Like you said, when you're ungrateful for the growth.
Yes, because the growth is there.
And even a setback is growth if you're taking consistent action. Exactly. You might have to break certain patterns and you might have to disconnect with certain people or leave a job or you might lose money or opportunities at first to then move forward. And it might feel like, oh, this is even harder now.
Yeah.
But know that if you're taking the actions, that setback might be the ultimate growth that you needed.
Yeah.
And so when you you're consistent with your word on a daily basis and you are your word consistently with what your actions are going to be and you do it, you follow through like you said, receive the gratitude, receive the fruits of the consistency that you've been doing on a daily basis. If you're like, I'm running to write a book and I'm writing 1 page a day, okay, receive that. I took action. I did this step today.
Yep.
And receive that gratitude.
Absolutely. Gratitude is so important. I did a whole series of gratitude, which actually was on Amazon Prime before. And a lot of people will say, thank you. But did you feel that thank you? Did you really emote and feel the energy of that gratitude within the thank you? Somebody can hand me a cup, a bottle of water, and I say, oh, thanks, man, But did I really feel that thanks? Did I really get the gratitude out, the emotion? So I started trying to connect with thank you, connect with thanking myself, connect with the agreement that I've achieved something in my life and accepting that gratitude, but really allowing myself to feel the emotion of that gratitude because that's where the real power is at.
Man, that's good, man. I love this a lot. This stuff is powerful for me. There's a question I want to ask you about time. What is time and is it an illusion?
Time is actually an illusion. Now, we have the arrow of time here in the 3rd dimension because we needed to navigate through this realm. Without it, we'd be completely lost. I would never have been able to rendezvous with you, right, here to have this podcast on this particular timeline. But multiple timelines exist. So we've somehow, in this particular frequency that we're in, we've collapsed this particular timeline. But according to quantum physics, there are unlimited timelines.
Really?
Timelines where you and I aren't even sitting here. You're doing something and I'm doing something, right? We're doing something totally different.
In this moment.
In this exact moment. Timelines where we never met through our entire lives. Timelines where we could have been next door neighbors. I mean, anything you can conceive in the mind actually happened.
Really?
Yeah. This is the superposition and probability of the universe.
How did it already happen though?
Well, there's so many multiple times. It's unlimited timelines. And so it's this, in science, they discovered that every potential outcome actually happens, which is wild.
How does it happen? How does science discover that or claim that to be true?
In the quantum world, when they looked into the quantum world, the subatomic, when you go down to the tiniest area, realm that we can get access to and start learning, we realize this incredible superposition that exists, where waves of everything that exists in the universe is a wave. Your house exists as a wave of potentials. You're not there. You're not looking at it. It's not a solid structure. It's a wave. If somebody else is looking at it, it collapses into the structure. Now, why does it collapse into the same structure that you know? Well, the atoms were stacked like Lego blocks to build what we call your house, and they're on a resonant frequency. So no matter who looks at it, that consciousness collapses it back into the same structure.
Wow.
But when you're not looking at it, it doesn't exist. We found that through science, specifically through the work of Professor Sylvester James Gates Jr. from the University of Maryland, former scientific advisor to President Obama. Him and a team of mathematics geniuses got together and discovered that the universe is running off of something called Adinkra codes.
Adinkra?
Adinkra codes. Yeah, Adinkra codes. And these Adinkra codes are the exact error correcting codes that run search engines and web browsers. Yes.
Wow.
So we're living in a creation. We are living inside of a creation. The method of creation, in my opinion, is a fractal holographic universe, and that is running on a particular code. And this code some of these codes are called Adinkra codes that direct the fabric of space-time itself. And this is incredible knowledge to have because it shows you that, yes, all the ancients were right. The biblical text, the Quran, and all the ancients from thousands of years prior to them were living inside of a creation. What is the method? Is this. Now, time was given to us as a gift to direct us and give us this opportunity to collaborate within our field. But if you travel in the future, right? If you travel into the future, you stay on the same timeline. We know this because people travel to the future every single day, believe it or not. When you get on an airplane and I'm standing on the ground and you're traveling in the airplane away from me, you're moving slight microns in the atomic world into the future because of the speed you're moving away from me. People who have traveled to the International Space Station, they've traveled into the future. So we know that in the future, same timeline. But we have the grandfather paradox where we try to travel back in time. In other words, if I travel back in time and kill my grandfather, how was I even born in the first place? That's in science. Well, that's because when you travel back in time, you shift frequencies into a different timeline. So you're not killing the grandfather from the timeline you were on. You're killing the grandfather from a timeline that you never existed on.
Right. So you couldn't even go back there, I guess.
Exactly. So getting back to your real timeline is now going to be virtually impossible. And there's been so many shows that have shown this with like Flash and many others trying to find how do I get back to I think Flash never got back to his timeline in the TV series, right? But it's based on real science.
Wow.
So time is something incredible because time is also malleable and bendable. So we know that time can bend through something called a wormhole. We know that there's something called an Einstein-Rosen bridge. Einstein and Rosen got together and came up with this theory of black holes and stable wormholes, and that space can be bent. And instead of traveling in a straight line to get to a destination, you can travel through curved space.
It's crazy.
So time is malleable, it's bendable, and it's really crazy when you really understand, like, wow, time is really an illusion. Clocks exist, but time doesn't exist. And, it's hard for somebody to wrap their mind around it, but because we're here in the third dimension and we have to have this time. But in any dimension above 3, there is no time. Like I said earlier, the past, present, and future happen all at once.
So how do we bend time to manifest our dreams faster?
Oh, that's through conscious thought. The incredible thing they found out, and the CIA found this out with the hemisync technique. It's a form of manifestation through conscious thought and focusing a beam of conscious thought to create a reality or to find out information.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And through this, they discovered that the mind travels outside of space and time. So you can send your mind outside of space and time. Also, remote viewers use the same exact technique. They can send their mind outside of space and time. They can travel to the past to gather intel. This was also a CIA project called Project Stargate. You can look that up on Wikipedia.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Right? And so through this process of remote viewing, they can send their mind to the future, they can send their mind to the current, or they can send their mind even to the past. So the mind itself can break through that barrier, that invisible barrier that we believe exists of space and time, and it can go anywhere within the known universe, possibly within the known multiverse.
So when we're thinking a thought, who is thinking that thought?
Right.
Where does the thought come from? How does that process work?
There's a couple of processes with thoughts. Now, of course, when two neurons are very close together, you create a synapse, and the electrical charge jumps from one to the next, creating this thought, right? Where does that spark even come from? Well, we know that we're human batteries, and the energy is inside of us. But also, what is that thought? Now, if it's an idea, sometimes we think we get a brand new idea. We got an invention. Well, how come inventions sometimes happen sporadically around the world almost at the same time? It's because the information already exists in the ether. There's nothing new under the sun. That's in Ecclesiastes, right? There's nothing new under the sun. It's a real statement, because everything that we are now creating or inventing or discovering, in my opinion, already existed, or someone already had the thought for it. And so what happens is...
The data is already out in the world.
The data is... Remember I told you, the thoughts leave your skull. Scientists recently discovered that we can quantum entangle with the field, with energy or information in the field. So if someone thought of this, there's a possibility that I can get on that same frequency and I can get that into my mind. And if I have the ability to discern that thought or that information, I can act on it.
And alchemize it.
Right. Exactly. And all of a sudden, boom, here it is. You might get the same frequency, I might get the same frequency, but I might not discern it. So it becomes your thought. And we think it's your original thought. Sometimes it's not your original thought.
Right. So it could be 1,000 people that said, I had that same idea. I just didn't actualize it. I didn't take action on it.
And they found something else interesting in science, but the time that we're experiencing right now as we're talking back and forth and having this discussion, we appear to be in real time. We're not in real time. We're about 7 seconds in the past by the time I'm looking at you and responding to you and making my gestures and you talking back to me. So they did this experiment where they discovered that a person is not living in real time. So they connected a person to a EEG cap, and they also had them in a room with a computer screen or a television screen, and they were showing different images on the screen so they can capture what the process of the brain is when it sees something like something peaceful, like a bed of flowers, or somebody in stress or struggle, someone in a car accident, all these different things. They would show a war. So we're getting the feedback from the brain. What does the brain respond to? What does it look like on the computer? By accident, they discovered something amazing. That after a while, the brain started detecting what the next image would be before it showed up on the screen, up to 7 seconds in advance.
How's that possible?
Well, these images were being shown 10 seconds apart to give the brain time to reset. And they started noticing this trend. They were like, wait a minute. The brain is picking up what the next image is up to 7 seconds in advance. So we're not even in real time. There's something going on that we don't understand that's already happened before we catch up to that exact moment. And then there's another delay behind that, because now a photon has to ping off of you and go to my retina and get processed by my brain so I can figure out what you look like and what you just said. So that's even another delay.
You know what's interesting about that? What's coming up for me right now is sports, playing sports. And there's a great... Gosh, what's the quote? I think it's Gretzky. Maybe it was like, I'm always where the puck is going to be or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
When I was playing basketball or football, I was never the best athlete on the field, but I always had a sense, like a feeling of like, it's going to be there in that space at this time.
Yeah.
Let me go there. It's almost like I could predict where the ball was going to be thrown.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with my conversation.
Where I needed to pass the ball for the person to get in that space in the next 3 seconds. And I developed that through sports. And I could always see kind of the future in sports, and that skill set of the vision of time and space allowed me to be better in sports.
Exactly.
And the same thing with business. It's probably the same thing with your business as well. I see this trend happening. The world is moving into this place. I'm going to be there as well.
Got to be
Let
there.
me actualize
rendezvous.
Exactly.
That's
interesting.
That's exactly what makes a great athlete. What makes Michael Jordan better than most of the other athletes? They're practicing just as hard as most of them. I mean, he partied all night long and everything else, right? I mean, he worked out too. Don't get me wrong. He trained, but man, did this guy, and people are like, man, I'm working twice as hard as Michael Jordan, but I'm not Michael Jordan. Why is that? And how can he get on the court and just slice and dice through the whole team like they don't even exist? Because his 7 seconds were probably more like 2.5 to 3 seconds. So like you said, he was closer to real time. And I think the elite athletes and elite businessmen and elite thinkers are closer to real time, where they're surfing on the wave, right? Everyone is waiting for the wave to crash over them. So when you wait for the wave to crash over you, you go, oh, I'm in this moment now. But instead of surfing on top of the wave, being closer to the real time that actually does exist, it makes you look godlike. When Michael Jordan is on the court, people slow down. Time, he says, slows down. He's just weaving through these people like they don't even exist. But they're moving as fast as they possibly can. But he's on another level here, right? He's in that zone. That's what that zone is.
Flow, the zone.
That flow, getting closer to real time. They're on 7 seconds. I'm going to get on 3 seconds. I'm going to get on 2 seconds.
What do you think that is within someone like a Jordan or someone who's just at the top of their game? Because Jordan had his own demons. He had traumas. Sure. He had challenges. He had conflicts. He had legal stuff happening. He had relationship issues. He had team issues with whatever it might be. He had stresses in life.
Sure.
Billionaires have challenges.
Yeah.
But what is it that separates people in the top 1% to get in the flow and ride the wave of the frequency of the universe better than everyone else?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because some people say, man, well, this person's this, and they've done all this, and how come they can do it better than me? Well, there's just some people that are naturally gifted consciously. The way their mind is set up, the way their brain works, the way their synapses and their frequencies and understanding, the way their perception of themselves is. Like Michael Jordan is so confident in himself, it's to the point of overcocky, right? But some people say, like, man, this guy's just too on, and he believes he's better than anybody. Hey, I could beat you in golf, I could beat you in table tennis, I'll beat you in wherever. I'll beat you in a foot race. I'll beat you in washing dishes.
That's belief.
That's his belief.
It gets him the results.
It gets him the results. But see, that mindset he has, and some people see it as egotistical, it's what allowed him to be a master manifester in the realm of sports.
Belief.
Yes. The pure, unadulterated, unequivocal, unshakable belief within his own self. Not anything on the outside, within himself.
There's a story, I was in 8th grade, and the high school, there was this senior who was the most gifted athlete I've ever seen playing basketball.
Yeah.
And I would play with the upperclassmen sometimes in 8th grade because I was 6'4".
Yeah.
And I was, more talented than 8th graders at the time. So they would let me practice with them sometimes. They were better than me, but this one guy was a freak athlete. Like he looked godlike.
Right.
Chiseled. You're like perfect body.
Yeah.
Jump 44 inches, 360 dunk it in practice, like effortless, so smooth. But in the game was average at best. And I never understood it.
Yeah.
And I would ask people later, I was like, what was it about him? Because when he practiced, it was unstoppable. And he could just do anything he wanted. And they said he had a lot of self-doubt.
That's it.
And I was like, I had a fraction of that talent, but I learned how to believe in myself.
Right.
And it got me certain results. And it didn't look as pretty, but I got results, right?
Yeah.
And I learned how to believe.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
It's hard for a lot of people to really, truly believe in yourself. You have to have that to be elite. And if you want to be elite in anything, or you want to be the best you can be in anything, that belief has to be there. The second that doubt creeps in, it's like a virus that begins to take over your subconscious. And then it's like a deck of cards just crumbling. Over a period of time, within the exercise of that game or that event or whatever it is you're doing, you begin to feel weaker and weaker. It's like kryptonite just creeping in on you.
And it all starts with your mind.
It starts in the mind. It's one little doubt after another doubt after another doubt. See, this happened. Oh, my God, this happened. And the next thing you know, it just crumbles. And you crumble on the inside. On the outside, you look like this Adonis. You look unstoppable. But on the inside, you've crumbled.
So how can someone who has a pattern of falling into self-sabotage, how can they switch it off and get back into self-belief?
The thing that I learned from my wife is pretty interesting. It's taking a rubber band, put it around your wrist, a rubber band. And every time you have one of those ants, those automatic negative thoughts, you snap yourself. Just a little snap. Because it's going to trigger an actual response in the body, a shock in the body that goes to the brain, and you begin to recognize these automatic negative thoughts. You begin then to learn how to check yourself and get back into brain-heart coherence. Begin to get back in sync, get back in rhythm. Begin to realize, I was just doubting myself. Wait a minute. No, I got this. You have to build a habit. It's a habit-building process, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's not going to be instant, but it takes time. But by doing a little snap, over time, you develop this habit of catching yourself and stopping yourself, and then realizing, wait a minute. I do have this. I can do this. I am getting better at this. I do have the ability to do this. And then the next thing you know, you become much better and you become more confident. And when the confidence builds, it grows. Now you become a master.
Wow. Where in your life do you struggle the most right now?
Right now, I would say I struggle probably in managing my time with, the family. There's so much going on in the business, and it's always a delicate balance between the family life and the business. I have 6 kids. The youngest, most of them are all adults, but the youngest one's only 12 now. And to be able to carve out that time and not to keep putting them aside and make sure I stop, I got to force myself. Now, you got to pay attention. You got to be there, and make sure I'm spending the right quality time with my wife. Make sure that we're not just talking business all the time because we're in business together.
There's so many opportunities.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to have a time where we just say, look, we're not talking business right now. This is our time. And so hard. It's a delicate balance. It really, really is. People may sound like that doesn't sound like it's hard at all, but it's very, very difficult to balance. When you're riding a wave and you're trying to capture that wave and maximize everything on it,
the momentum
is there. You don't want to lose the momentum. And then at the same time, there's so many projects that we are a part of other than just that one thing. And then to be able to balance that with the family life. And so I'm learning. It's a process. I've gotten a lot better. I've gotten a lot better, but I still have more to go. It's a developing process within me.
What have you learned about yourself through, because you've been married and divorced, correct?
Yes, yeah.
What have you learned about yourself through intimacy and relationships, marriage, divorce, and your inner world while you're in relationships?
I've learned that being stoic, being secretive or quiet about what you're truly feeling and how you feel about a situation is horrible. One of the worst things you could do. Lack of communication and also poor communication helps to be a detriment to the relationship as well. So even though I had some bad experiences with some exes, I also played a part in that as well. I can't blame everything on everybody else because at the end of the day, you got to look in the mirror. And a lot of it is communication, suppressing, thinking that the person's thinking one thing and they're not, and I think the biggest thing though is really being able to open up productive conversations, not just surface level conversations, which is what I had for so many decades, but actually real deep, intimate conversations, breaking through questions that allow you to know the person on a much deeper level and to be able to really open up that flower of life, so to speak, and to really be able to get on that same frequency. That's really the key, and that's what I've been working on recently to the point where I'm even building an app that will help other people do this as I've been going through this process as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And you talked about forgiveness as being a powerful first step for people. Is there anything you haven't forgiven yourself for?
There are, and sometimes we think we've forgiven ourselves for almost everything, but I had so many traumas in my younger years. There's so many things locked away within inside of me. So I've been doing that inner work, sitting with psychiatrists and people to help pull it back out. Sometimes you need a little bit of help, of somebody to help you go through a conversation to pull out, I forgot that even happened. And that's a trauma that was just cut away, just in a little corner there, in a little nook and cranny. I forgot it was even there. So it's this process of day by day, gradually taking time to talk, with somebody you can trust, whether it's a therapist, a psychiatrist, your better half, to help extract some of this information from you so you can realize, wow, I forgot about this. I got to deal with this, And we're born with so much trauma, but we don't believe it. Even just getting smacked on the butt coming out the womb, that's trauma.
Sure.
Right? So we come into the world with trauma. And there's so many things that happened back in the day. My mind just locked a lot of it away in a safe and put it to the side so I could cope and deal with real life and be able to do what I have to do. Because if I was focusing on that, I'd be completely distraught and distracted. But so it's this unlocking of this safe box and taking these dark things out and really beginning to address them over time. So, still working on it, man.
Wow.
It's a process.
For someone that says, why even bring up the past? Why relive these traumas? Yeah. Like if they're not you can block them or sweep them under the rug or you can compartmentalize. They're not really affecting me. What would you say to someone who thinks in an analytical way that says, it's not worth it for me to open back the past of traumas and address them or just talk to someone about them?
Yeah.
What's the real value? I'm going to feel more stress and worry and...
Well, initially you will feel a little bit more stress as you bring that back up. You'll feel that emotion, but you'll be able to process the emotion. See, scientists, doctors have found out that hidden stress, that trauma in the body that you haven't addressed and processed is what gives you the dis-ease. The dis-ease becomes disease, and then you end up pushing up daisies.
Daisies? What's that?
That's when you're buried in the ground and the flowers grow on top of you. You die. You die.
Wow.
It's the number one cause of cancer, is these traumas that are hidden within us that we've hidden away, these body pains, these back aches. All these sore joints sometimes. Sometimes a lot of that is just the trauma that's hidden within our body. Also, the hindrance of the trauma. Some people can't see that it's hindered them. It might not have hindered them financially, but it might be billionaires. It might be multimillionaires. That's okay. For some people, it has hindered them in that area. But some, it hasn't. But other areas are suffering. Relationships with their family, relationships with people. You know, it could be all different things that are happening that are going on that you don't connect to the trauma, but the trauma is like an umbilical cord linked to everything going on in your reality.
Yes.
And until you really deal with it and do the shadow work and begin to work and process some of these things, you're never going to become the true highest self that you're capable of being.
So how much do our emotions play a part in our life? Because some people have really exciting emotions. Other people have stressed out emotions, worry, fear emotions. Yeah. Where do these emotions stem from? Is it from an interpretation of things and how we feel, and then we feel them throughout the body? But how much do these emotions impact our life?
Emotions are huge. They influence almost every decision we make. I mean, people live on emotion. The stock market runs off of emotion. The stock market doesn't run on logic. Logic is not anywhere near the stock market.
Buy, sell.
Exactly. It's all based on emotion. So you have to judge the emotion of the people, which you want to make your call or your put on the stock options, right? Otherwise, you have to read those emotions so you can make money. Yeah. People make a living doing that. So we understand emotions are huge. And the thing about emotions is, they start in the subconscious, and then they come out and we emote them, right? We push them out to the outside. And the effect of emotions are several ways. One thing about emotions, if you're in a distraught state, a frequency of anger, disgust, despair, the biofield that's whipping out of your chest from your heart, the electromagnetic field, which we know happens, it's also carrying that cortisol with it. 20 feet away, 8 to 20 feet away. I'm sitting here with you right now. If I'm in a stressed state, my field, you're going to feel it literally, because your field and my field are going to intertwine, and the cortisol hormones that are leaving my body on that field that you can't even see with your eye are going to increase your cortisol level and make you feel more stressed without you even knowing it. And also by another means, if I'm in a very high frequency, vibrant, and you're in a low frequency, I have the capability of raising your frequency to a higher frequency, making you feel better. Then when somebody says, that person walked in a room and lit the room up, that's a true statement.
Their light radiated from their heart.
Yes.
And it impacted everyone else.
Facts. Scientific. And where did I learn this? When I took classes at MIT for applied neuroscience with Dr. Tara Swart, they talked about
Dr.
this.
Tara Swart. She's great. I've had her on.
Lady. Yeah.
She's amazing.
Incredible. That was my professor at MIT.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah. I did podcasts with her and everything. That is what she taught us. And I was like, this is not just like metaphysical stuff. It's real, actual physical stuff. It's really happening. These interactions are happening. So understanding your emotions, but also some people think to suppress emotions, that's also bad. It's better to feel that anger, feel that frustration, feel that pain, process it. Don't stay there. But if you hide it or suppress it, which is what I'm guilty of doing for many, many decades, it becomes a problem within the body. I hid and oppressed and suppressed so many emotions. I was so stoic. I was almost like a robot. Yes. There's videos of me going back, a decade, where I'm just like a stiff robot. I mean, I'm telling you, I was like, and when people started seeing me laugh within the last 4 years and dance and act crazy and just be like free, they're like, they stole Billy. He's a clone. They say, this ain't the same person. Like, what happened to him? But I was so stiff.
Wow.
I finally, just in 4 years, since I met my wife Elizabeth, was able to finally, she's the one who helped me discover this, to free myself and to feel emotions and to process the emotions and then to live life. Don't stay in the emotion. Process it. Let it flow through your body and come to terms with that and then live your life.
So what I'm hearing you say, it sounds to me that your emotions impact your energy, and your energy dictates your life.
Yes.
If you walk into any room, whether it's with a family member, a lover, potential business partner, your team, whatever it might be, and you show up with an energy where your emotion has impacted your energy to be at a lower frequency, you're essentially going to bring the energy down.
Yes.
And if you shift your emotion to raise your energy, your frequency will be higher in every situation.
Yep.
So it sounds like it's a skill to not allowing emotion to impact your energy and pull you down. It's learning to shift that emotion quicker. Mm-hmm. If you need to get it out because something challenging has happened, get it out, but then shifting it so you don't stay in a lower energetic state consistently.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, and the easiest way to shift it is to think of something that makes you extremely happy. Think of a great moment in your life. Everyone has at least one great moment in their life. Focus on that. Like sit and meditate. Take 10 deep breaths and focus on that great, great, great thing. Something, the best experience you've ever had in whatever it was. And right away, your body will begin to normalize. Your heart rate and your pulse and everything will begin to normalize. And you'll get back into brain-heart coherence.
Yeah. This is why meditation has become so popular in the last 5 to 10 years, because it is a simple tool of just breathing, even for 1 minute, where you will get into brain and heart coherence through breath and slowing down the breath and realigning the nervous system to harmony and peace. And if you can practice that, if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, but you can practice that throughout the day, before getting into conversations, before you show up at your work, before you come home to see your spouse, or whatever it might be, before you see your kids, you're going to bring a different energy and therefore a different frequency to that moment in time. What is the difference between then a frequency, a vibration, and emotions?
Well, it's all really it's a way of describing the same thing, right? Because it's all frequency. The vibration is actually a frequency, and the frequency is actually a vibration, because when something is a frequency, it's undulating, and that undulation is an actual vibration. And the emotion itself is sending out a frequency, which is actually a vibration. So it's all three the same exact thing.
What is the highest level of frequency that a human can express?
Well, there's no way to really measure that, although we do know that by putting an EEG cap on a person's skull and having them in several different states of mind, we can see on the screen oscillation waves, right? So if somebody's in a distressed state, a sad state, if you're looking at an image on the screen that's extremely sad, like a war-torn country or something like that, we'll see this very slow, wide oscillation, high and low troughs, very spaced out. That's a low frequency. Scientifically, we're seeing the frequency.
A taller wave.
Yes, a taller wave, but spread out. The more distance between the height and the trough.
Okay, spread out.
Spread out. And now, in a higher frequency, someone is happy, excited, enthusiastic. We then see the waves like this. So the height and the trough and the space in between is much closer. And that means they're in a high frequency state. So we can literally see this on a computer screen. So when we talk about getting to a higher vibration, it's not just metaphysical words. It's a real scientific thing, a real state of being in this reality, in your real body. It's not just some woo-woo stuff. It's real.
So would that state be joy, love, excitement, passion, adventure, curiosity? Would that be more of the higher frequency state?
All higher frequency, happiness,
So when you were, a decade ago, when you were more robotic, in your words, and I guess analytical and stoic, were you allowing yourself to express the highest frequencies possible?
I was not.
Really?
I was stuck right in the middle. I would get to the gray area and just, for some reason, I had started to put myself into this compartment where I was compartmentalizing so much, and I wasn't allowing myself to express myself at the highest level.
Why?
I don't know. It just gradually, it happened over time, and I became more reclusive and more reclusive. I kind of do know why. I think it was this relationship that I was in. It was a very bad one. I mean, it was a super psychopathic narcissist, and everything was my fault. Everything, and it was just a lot of drama.
You have to numb yourself out.
I numbed myself.
Yeah.
I numbed myself significantly.
I know that feeling.
And I got myself so numb to where it became kind of the norm. And then over time, even after I was out of that, I did that for 20 years, by the way, with that one person. And when I got out of it, I had trained myself to be in that kind of numbed situation, that box that I put myself in. And I found out that it was really hard to break out. I would get into other relationships and things, but I would only get myself up to here. And then I would just reach this limit, and I would suppress getting out and being my true, full, real self.
Wow.
And then it took somebody like, I keep giving them the credit, my wife broke me open out of that thing, and allowed me to express and feel myself, and allowed me to feel vulnerable again.
Wow.
And to be happy and to be jovial and make jokes and fun. And now I'm like the life of the party everywhere I go,
Well, the child Billy came out.
Yes, yeah. And it had been hidden away and locked in a box.
What's the thing you love about your wife the most?
I just love the fact that she is just so caring and giving, Every single day when I wake up, I know that she's looking out for my best interests. She's making sure I take all my supplements and my vitamins, because if I don't see them, out of sight, out of mind. It's not going to happen, Making sure I exercise all the time. And, she's a little younger than me, so it's important that I stay physically fit and stay in shape to some degree. She didn't want to become a caregiver,
Yeah.
But she's always looking out for me, not only through physically, but also mentally. How are you? How are you doing? Let's sit down and talk. Let's ask each other some deep questions here. let's get to this, this level where we're on the same frequency, and I can see if there's any way I can better serve you, or you can better serve me. What things are you going through right now that I can help you with? What things am I going through that, and having these deeper conversations, these very intimate conversations, to allow ourselves to really express to one another and talk to one another and conversate with one another, but also allowing ourselves to learn how we can be better with one another.
Yes.
And I've never had that before, ever.
Wow.
I've never even heard those words in my entire life of relationships.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
Something to receive and be grateful for every day.
Yeah.
Of all the ancient wisdom that you've studied and researched and gone down, rabbit holes for decades on this, what is the ancient truth or wisdom that most people don't know about that you think is the most powerful thing we should be aware of?
Well, I believe that there was a lot of battles and wars in the ancient times. These wars are spoken about in the ancient Sumerian tablets. They're written in cuneiform. They're in the cylinder scrolls. They're in the Mahabharata Indian text. They're in the Indian Vedas, the Rig Veda specifically, the Battle of the Ten Kings. They worked their way into a lot of the ancient texts, even the indigenous natives of Americas, the Terra Papers. All these documents are showing that at one time there was a high level of culture, even the Nibiru from ancient Kemet, before it was called Egypt. There were these wars of the quote-unquote gods, so these high-level beings that were in some way, shape, or form creating these situations on this planet where there was a lot of turmoil. Everyone wanted to dominate and take over someone else. Those wars made it into biblical text, made it into Quran and everything else. So they're well-known wars that happened. The thing that I want people to know they don't realize is we don't have to be like that. That we just continue to copy what's happened to us, what's happened in the ancient past, that we are just reciprocating and going through this cycle of up and down, this yuga cycle of recreating these same traumatic situations on this planet. And that if we really look at the past and really analyze it through a magnifying glass and learn from it, say to ourselves, this is what's been going on for eons. How do we now stop this from happening in the future? Because ultimately there's probably been, based on my research, at least 4 golden ages on this planet. Ages where there was peace and tranquility and no war. And then something happens and it collapses and goes back around the cycle again. And right now I think that we're in the Tetra Yuga, which is like the Silver Age, heading back towards the Golden Age. We're at the very, very beginning of the Silver. We're thousands of years away, but the very beginning.
Thousands of years away.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's called the Great Year. It's a long time. But we're in the stage right now, a stage of awakening, enlightenment, the age of information, where a lot of people are really beginning to ask more questions. So we're in the very vulnerable process of learning right now. And if we can understand what happened in the past and understand the past as prologue, we can prevent a damned or doomed future for our future generations. And every time I research these yuga cycles and this rise and fall of civilizations, which are also talked about in the Emerald Tablets, I began to realize something. There's not one text anywhere, and I've gone through thousands of texts, that says that this cycle has to happen. The ultimate goal, I believe, or the ultimate test or experiment that's going on, this grand experiment, is, can we now be the ones that make it to a golden age and sustain it? And how many other civilizations out there in the known universe have reached that sustained golden age, and how many have continued to collapse and go back through the cycle?
Wow. What do you think is keeping humanity from living in peace?
The main thing from living in peace is the ego. The ego, the ability to want to dominate others, to put the boot on the neck of others, to control others.
Why do people want that?
It's something that really feeds the ego. It's something innate and dark deep within us. It's an ancient trauma that's been passed down through epigenetic memories. Scientists discovered that these epigenetics are real and that they're passed through the body, through the RNA from the father's side, and they go on for generations and generations and generations. So there's this dark, deep trauma within our bodies that's hidden away, that's programming code. And this code is popping up, influencing the ego, and giving people these thoughts to dominate others.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it possible to break the traumas of our ancestors?
Affirmations. The only way is through positive affirmations.
Really?
Meditation and positive affirmations is the only way to break it. So we got to be able to begin to get people understanding that this is within us. This darkness is hiding in our cells and our body, within the DNA. And we need to be able to now rewrite that. How do we reprogram it? Meditation and affirmations. Meditation and affirmations. We have to uncode ourselves and recode ourselves. Deprogram and reprogram. And then The RNA that we pass down to the next generation will be healed and cured from that ancient mindset, diseased thought process of domination. Right now we live in a universe, or we live in the civilization here on this planet, at least, based on full competition over collaboration. We have to get out of this competition mindset. It's in everything that we see, everything that we do, and realize you're only in competition with yourself. If you succeed at the podcasting and you get 100 million subscribers, I'm going to be your best cheerleader, right? Because I feel like that's phenomenal. He achieved his birthright, and there's still room for me to grow. What can I learn from him? Instead of seeing it, oh man, he made it to 100 million people, and what am I going to do? And I need to beat Lewis Howes. I mean, that mindset is what's holding us down. The mindset of envy, of jealousy, of competition. When we move and shift into the collaboration mindset and realize that abundance manifests throughout the entire universe, and abundance is unlimited, and we realize this unlimited abundance. So if he's successful, I can be successful on the same level too. If this company's doing this, I can have a company doing the same thing. Gaia's a streaming TV network. I don't wish any ill on them. I want them to do great things. There's room for me. They're paving the way for my company to be a huge streaming TV platform, right? So why am I wishing and hoping the worst on them? I'm just following the trend and not reinventing the wheel, right? So it's this mind. But when you shift, if you don't shift into that, it's be like, I got to beat Gaia. I got to beat this one. When you move into that mindset, it's a hindrance, it's dark, and you end up going to battle.
Wow.
You go to war. But when you move into the frequency of collaboration, how can we work together? How can we become a bundle package together on Amazon Prime? You know, how can I send you some people for your podcast that'll be great people for you to interview, and maybe you might know somebody that might be good for my podcast. When you move into that frequency, everything just flows.
Yes.
And you grow, and there's less stress, less pressure, and there's no war.
So collaboration over competition.
Yeah.
Did you always have a collaborative mindset growing up, or were you more into competition? You had to break that cycle.
I had a competition mindset coming from sports.
Yeah.
And I realized coming out of sports that keeping that same mindset everywhere you go is abrasive.
Yeah.
And it takes so much energy.
Yeah.
I said, I remember this one time. This is back in 1998. A guy invited me to a networking meeting. Back then, there used to be all these networking. You go meet in person, no virtual stuff, right? No LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You got to go sit down with people in their face. And I went. I said, I begrudgingly, but I went. I went to this meeting, and I met the most incredible people there. And we exchanged business cards, good old days, and got to know each other a little bit, added to my Rolodex. And I made a phone call about maybe a month later to one of the people I met there, ended up closing a big business deal, not from them directly, but somebody they sent me to. And I was like, wow, just one meeting. And I realized then it's the collaboration that counts, not the competition. Mm-hmm. And I started shifting in that moment into the collaboration mindset.
It just feels better too.
It feels better.
I mean,
so clean.
There's a ego, fun feeling of competing and beating someone. Yeah. There's a feeling to that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's more of like a darker side, I guess. Unless it's in sports, like there's a spirit of competition where you can also have a spirit of sportsmanship.
Right.
Which is, can you compete and then shake each other's hands afterwards?
Exactly.
In the spirit of the game.
Exactly.
Of, thank you for helping me elevate my skills to this new level.
Facts.
Maybe I lost the game, but you helped me grow. Mm-hmm. And when both teams or individuals can do that in the spirit of sportsmanship and in kind of collaboration of raising the frequency within each other, that's a win-win.
Absolutely.
Even if someone loses, you can create a win-win.
Yes. Facts.
If you interpret it differently. So I had to learn that in my 20s because I was all about competition.
Yeah.
I need to be number one. I need to win. I need to be rewrite. And man, it's exhausting.
It's exhausting, man. It takes so much energy. I got U.S. Junior Olympics for a little while, AAU basketball, USSSA. I had a large program in South Florida, one of the largest actually, 121 players in the total program. And scouting and going out and trying to make sure you beat this and finding out what this game plan is and how do you get past this coach's plays and all that. It takes so much energy. Now, of course, it's sports, so you have to do it. But when you then move it out of there into general life, you think, I got the system. I'm going to take this system I use to win here and win over here.
Doesn't work.
Oh, man, it doesn't work. It's just so
It's a battle, man.
So the battle. You create battles that don't even exist. You create them out of thin air.
I had to learn how to be collaborative in my 30s and realize that's the true key to getting success is like helping others win, serving others, being of value.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's not always going to be them that help you win also.
Exactly.
It's not always going to be that. But I was just telling this to my brother this morning for like the last, 12 years of doing this show, but also just kind of 16, 17 years of being in business and stuff. I've just tried to be a giver. I guess me and you are givers, and that's why in a wounded place, you attract a taker.
Yes.
In relationships, where you have an emotional wound of intimacy.
Yeah.
But in life, I just try to be a giver. And I was telling him this morning, I was like, not every person I gave to has given me something of equal value or greater value in return to what I gave them.
Yeah.
But I live in a beautiful home. I have a sanctuary. I have an opportunity to make a difference. I have a big platform. Like, life has given me so much.
Yes.
And I believe it's because I keep showing up consistently, not perfectly, but consistently, to try to find value and give that value to other people.
Yes.
And by being of service, I believe that you will be rewarded eventually. It may not happen right away, but you will gain incredible gifts. And it's going to look different than everyone else, but it's like I receive and appreciate and I'm grateful for what I have. And I think that is also an element to manifesting more, is really living in the frequency of gratitude for what I do have.
Yep.
And you can want and create more, but also like, if I don't have more, I'm happy.
I'm happy.
I'm happy.
I'm happy. I really came to that true realization of what you just said. Like I said, just weeks ago, I almost died in the hospital.
Yeah.
And I was analyzing. I had to say to myself, woof, this is pretty tough. When they came and put the heart monitors and the oxygen thing on me and all this stuff, and I'm in there with all these IV trees and all these IVs in my arms and everything else, and I'm in so much agony and pain, and I couldn't breathe. And I was thinking, man, every breath I take, I feel the liquid, the fluid, the groggling. And I was so afraid to go to sleep because I was like, if I go to sleep, I might not wake up.
Oh, man.
But I had this thought like, what if I didn't wake up? Not that I'm trying to leave, but if I don't wake up, I realized I'm so thankful.
Wow.
I lived a life of 10 men,
That's beautiful.
I lived a great life.
Yeah.
Even with everything that happened, I really did live a good life.
Yeah, man.
So I was happy. I was like, well, if this is it, then I accept it. But I was given a chance to come back and fight, which I did. But I realized, like, I really have such a great life.
Yeah.
I have nothing to complain about.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Even with all the traumas and all the challenges and relationships. And
I really have lived the life of 10 men. I've been all over the world. I've been around the world 18 times. I've traveled, living my dreams. I've manifested, a nice place to live. I've manifested being able to provide things for my family. I've manifested being happy, which is the hardest thing to do. I've achieved those things, and, obviously not that I wanted to leave, but I felt like, wow, I really look back. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful. I have so much gratitude for the life I was given.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Do you have a spiritual practice today?
Yeah, I just, my biggest thing that I do is I like to meditate. That's my biggest practice. And every single time I get in the shower, that's my prayer closet. Because what I envision is everything that's holding me back, everything that's dark, everything that's frustrating, everything that's hindering me, it's washing away. It's coming out of the body and it's washing out of the
beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then once I get it all out, I feel like it's all out, then I take a moment and then I just open up and I say, okay, now bring in all the positivity, bring in all the high energy, bring in all the frequency, bring in all the manifestation, bring in the peace and the sex and the health and everything else. And that's how I, take my showers. So I take the opportunity in my showers. And sometimes I can take 3 a day because I'm doing saunas, I'm working out, my wife wants to go for this walk, whatever. So, but I'm getting this through the shower process. It's my prayer closet.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, whenever I'm feeling down or maybe sick or something like that, or something like cold coming on or whatever it might be, I imagine flowing stream of like golden water flowing from the top of my head, like through my body, cleansing my cells.
Yes.
And just visualizing this like golden river flowing through my body, out my toes.
Right.
And whether it's placebo or whatever it is, it seems to always make an impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
By thought.
Yeah.
It's not actually happening.
Yeah.
But I'm imagining that it's happening.
Well, that's making it real.
Isn't that interesting?
Because of that, it's really happening in that higher dimensional realm, in that multidimensional area. It's really happening. And I believe in it, man. It has a direct effect on me, And I'm not a perfect person. I make mistakes just like everyone else. But it's recognizing that, recognizing it, coming to terms with it, addressing it, and just trying to move through it, and then try to find a way to, again, not duplicate that, but also to have the gratitude for even understanding that I recognize that.
Yes.
So many people go through life without recognizing anything, and they're just like NPCs in the Matrix, non-player characters. But the ones that are conscious, you begin to become self-aware. And self-aware is not just recognizing, oh, that's just me in the mirror, but self-aware is being able to realize that you're not your thoughts, you're the observer of your thoughts. And that's where you gain your most power.
We're not our thoughts. We are the observer of our thoughts. Yeah. What is the biggest illusion that people have?
They think that they are, for example, I'm Billy Carson, right? They think that they're that person. So you're Lewis Howes. So people think that, oh, that's me. I'm Billy Carson. I'm Lewis Howes. I'm Mary Jane, or whatever the number is, right? Whatever the name is. But they're not. When you're born, you're given a name, a race, and a religion, and you spend your whole life depending on a false identity. Like I always say, most people have no idea who they are. They have no clue. They don't even begin to know who they actually are, and they'll go through their whole life in that illusion. Who's Billy Carson? Somebody gave me that name. I never chose that name. It was given to me. Somebody told me, to be in this religion. I didn't choose to be in that thing. Somebody told me I was a black guy. I mean, well, I look brown. So, right. So who am I? People have to take time to sit with themselves and figure out who they truly are, what their true interests are outside of what's been told, been given to them, what's been forced on them, and find out what they're truly passionate about. Find out things that they would like to get, they would like to be interested in and to do, and passions that they want to fulfill, and things they want to manifest outside of everything that's been given to them and forced upon them, and realize that they're much more than what the programming code is. We're programmed from age 1 to 7 becomes who you are for the rest of your life, according to modern science. Well, in that time frame, a lot of us get that code and we stick to that code. We have to sit down and realize that we've been programmed. Now, how do we deprogram this? How do we then rewrite that program? And how do we get through the fear of even asking the questions on how to get out of this programming? A belief system is so hard-coded into our bodies now that the thought of asking any question or questioning it anyway, it hurts us physically and it makes us completely frightened and horrified.
Well, it's also a community aspect of if your community, your family, your friends have a belief system and you're questioning their beliefs,
right?
You're questioning them. They start to get upset with you. You don't want to, be kicked out of the tribe or the church or the community. You want to have love and family. So it's a
delicate situation.
It's challenging because I think we should be questioning things. Yeah. Shouldn't just accept everything that is told to us as 100% truth and fact. Right. I think you can ask questions about it. And that's a good thing. Yeah. And maybe you come to a belief, you come to an agreement of like, oh, this belief system works for me.
Yes.
It benefits me.
Right.
It gives me value. It brings me more harmony and alignment in my life. And this set of values, when I live up to them, I create a better reality for myself.
That's it.
I feel more peace. I feel more free. I feel more abundant. Yeah. Or does this set of values, do I need to adjust some of them or question them? Or were they pushed on me? And maybe they do work, but maybe they don't work for me right now. It's like you have to question things like that.
Right. Just to come to a better overall understanding of what you've accepted program-wise.
Yes.
And like you said, some of it's good, some of it's useful, some of it you can go along with, but become aware of it. Mm-hmm. Understand that this was coded into you. Now, let's dig deeper into that code and understand, is this something that I really truly accept, or am I just going with the status quo?
Yes.
So many people live their life on status quo till the day that they actually die, and never really truly living, alive, but not living.
Right.
And a lot of people are waiting to die so they can live. I choose to live now.
Wow. What was the program that you had to decode and reprogram that was the hardest for you?
One of the hardest for me, to be honest, was understanding money, financial literacy. The programming I had growing up was my parents had a little shoebox, and if they had $20 in there, that was a lot of money, and that was in top of the closet. Mostly it just had change in it. I would get sent to the grocery store to smash the cans on the shelves, because then you can get it for like 10 cents a can.
Wow.
Waiting for people to bring us food and taking fruits off of fruit trees in the neighborhood. We didn't even have water. Like I said, we would attach the water hose to our neighbor's house so we can rinse off in the backyard. So seeing that, no checkbooks, no bank account, no savings account, no life insurance, no nothing, just growing up under that programming code.
You weren't educated in money.
I wasn't educated in money, And so that I made a lot of financial mistakes when I was younger. You know, I had built some businesses and done really well. I remember I had this one marketing company I started. This is prior to the internet, just as the internet was getting ready to come into existence. So
like late 90s or something?
Yeah,
or
late
like,
90s. And I was doing phenomenal numbers. I mean, imagine late 90s making 10, 12 grand a week. That was good money back then.
Crushing life.
I was doing good, man. House, car, everything, right? And then their company, the two owners of my biggest client, the two owners of that company got into an argument. And one owner siphoned all the money out of the account and went back to Canada and left the other one high and dry. And I had, at that time, I had like probably 7 accounts, but that was like 90% of my income. And I lived up to that income, and I didn't save any money. I was just living by get it, spend it, get it. This is great, man. I'm rich. I'm doing good forever, right? Not really understanding money and financial literacy and just living paycheck to paycheck, making 10 grand a week. It was crazy living. And then this happened, and I got into a hole, and they kept promising to pay, and I kept servicing them. Like, this is my biggest client. Instead of realizing I got to acquire some more clients, how am I going to replace this income? And it never happened. And I ended up losing house, car, everything. I ended up sleeping on the beach homeless for a week. And I was like, how did I get into this situation? All the money I made, I spent every dime. It was so hard for me. But that was my eye-opening experience to realize you better learn about money and how to handle it, because you can't afford to put your family in this situation.
Wow.
And I ended up sleeping on the beach off of William Lehman Causeway down in Miami, Aventura area, when they had all the low rises. It was all motels and stuff. And I went to the owner of the motel and said, look, I have no money. I don't want to cause any problems, but can I sleep in my car in your parking lot? And I went and got a hoopty from Anything on Wheels for $450 on layaway.
Wow.
I got in the car, got this rusted out hoopty. I slept in that car. I felt down on myself for about a day and a half, I'm not going to lie. But then I got $30 from somebody, and I took 10 for gas, which went a long way back then because gas was like 79 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
And then I took the other 20 and got change from that same owner of that motel. And I went to the payphone on the corner. The corner was right on the main street of A1A. So I had to wait for the cars to stop at the red light so there wouldn't be any noise. And I got the yellow pages out from underneath the phone booth and started cold calling businesses, getting new clients, setting myself appointments, going on appointments, closing deals.
Wow.
And within a couple of weeks, I got some advanced payments. I got myself off the street, back into a nice apartment, got that hoopty, got into a nice car, gradually got back into a house, built my way back up. But on my way back up, I made a commitment to myself to understand and learn financial literacy. And through that process, I had gained so much knowledge with money and finances, which is why I wrote the book, Woke Doesn't Mean Broke. It's a best-selling book in 4 countries, and it's based on the U.S. economic system.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a thick book, man.
688 pages.
In a, I don't know if you could do this in a short answer, but what is money?
Money is nothing more than an energy exchange. It's an instrument. Money doesn't even exist. If you and I were in Alaska right now, inside of a cold cave, we got stranded there, and we had a bag with $1 billion in it. But knowing that if we didn't warm ourselves that night, we would die from pulmonary edema. We would light that bag of money on fire so fast just to live for one more day.
Yeah.
The money has only consciously attributed value. Whatever we give it emotionally is what it actually is valued at. Right? It's just zeros and ones, pieces of paper. It means nothing. It's the energy exchange. So the energy exchange there was heat for life. You see? So once I understood that, I was like, oh, it's not the money, it's energy. So how can I get on the frequency? Because energy is a frequency. So once you get to the frequency of the money, it appears. And I understood that, and I began to just get on the frequency of the money.
What is the frequency of money to get on?
The frequency is understanding, okay, for example, this is the late 90s. I saw a commercial said .com, black screen, IBM.com. That was the whole commercial. I said, what the heck is this IBM.com? It came on 4 times during an NBA game. I said, now that's expensive.
Yeah.
Even back then. So I went to the bookstore immediately. Of course, no computers, right? I said, can you show me or tell me anything about this .com? IBM has this .com commercial. She said, oh, it's over there in the HTML section. I go to the HTML section. I start looking at these books. I go, holy crap, this is crazy. And I realized the old ancient Native American prophecy, Hopi prophecy, where they said that in the future, the world will be connected on a World Wide Web and information will travel to and fro instantaneously. And I said, I can't believe I lived to this era. I'm here. And the era where this is about to happen right now before my very eyes. So I knew I had to get on the frequency of that because that would then bring what? Bring me the money. So I started studying HTML, I started studying ASP scripts, JavaScripts, C++, and I learned all that at the bookstore. I went to Rent-A-Center and got a $19.95 a week computer called a Packard Bell. I really call it a Packard from hell because it crashed. 2 gigabyte hard drive, right? And I started replicating this coding on the computer. I became pretty good at it. Started my first internet company called .com Marketing Group.
Wow.
And I built that into a multi-million-dollar corporation. And then I ended up getting acquired by Glowbench, which was a former FBI agent who actually retired and wanted to have bus benches with HTML, with LCD screens on them to do marketing and promotion. And then we ended up getting bought out by the Amber Alert company.
Wow.
So
it's kind of like seeing where is money's frequency at,
yeah,
and then putting your energy on that same frequency level.
Yeah.
There's going to be money
in the path of it.
Yeah, there's going to be money in the .com, whatever this thing is. I don't know. Let me go understand it and learn about how to use it.
Exactly.
Be involved in it, and then because there's going to be money flowing there.
Exactly. I got on the .com frequency.
Yeah.
And money was the side effect. Well, millions of dollars was the side effect, actually.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
I've got a couple final questions for you, Billy. This has been powerful, and we'll have to have you come back on for another episode in the future. But I want people to follow you, forbiddenknowledge.com, forbiddenknowledge.tv. That's where the 4. You've got an amazing, this is a newer book right here, right?
Yeah, that's one of my newer books, yeah.
Newer book called Fractal Holographic Universe, The Matrix Code Revealed. If you guys want to learn more about everything we've talked about here, it's all in this book. You can check it out on your website, forbiddenknowledge.com. Also, this seems pretty interesting. Woke doesn't mean broke.
Yeah.
And this is a thick book. This is all about money.
It's about money. How to be conscious and awake. It's not the conscious woke name. It's the consciousness being awakened, not the other one, right? Not political. Right. It came out before they came up with that term.
The woke. Yeah. The woke terminology.
Yeah. Not that woke term. This is really about being awake.
Wow.
But then don't be broke. Because if you're out here talking about abundance and we have the power within us and everything else, and you can't pay your light bill, there's a problem. You're not really a student of the teachings. The proof is in the pudding.
100%.
Yeah. This is a giant reference book to every aspect of financial literacy. I'm also a contributor to Entrepreneur magazine. And so they knew about the book. I contacted them. They went through a screening process, and allowed me to be a contributor. And I've got all my articles that I write for Entrepreneur are all on financial literacy, because I think that's the biggest thing we're struggling in the world right now is financial literacy, which is where I struggled.
That's beautiful.
For a while.
Woke doesn't mean broke. I love this.
Thank you.
Anywhere else we should send people to support you today? You've got these different places to go to.
Well, I've got my TV network, Forbidden Knowledge TV with the number 4. So they can go get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on any app store, iOS, Google Play, Amazon, Apple TV, LG TV, Samsung TV, Android TV, any TV or whatever. Just go get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app. A lot of incredible content there, docuseries, docudramas. Now we're doing actual fictional series that have knowledge encoded into them.
Oh, that's cool.
We have animation. We have, I own a record label too, so we have conscious music.
Amazing.
432 hertz. We have workshops and classes and training sessions and motivation and inspiration. Just
amazing, man.
Everything there, so somebody can go there and they can feel comfortable. Like when I come here, I'm going to walk away with something that I'm going to learn today.
That's beautiful, man.
Thank you.
We'll link it all up and send people there.
Appreciate it.
I want to acknowledge you, Billy, before I ask the final 2 questions, for your ability to transform over the last 5 to 10 years. Again, it sounds like you were very analytical, in a certain mode. And I think that when people allow the child to come out of them through healing the inner child into the journey of healing and forgiveness, it sets us free. And when we are free emotionally, spiritually, mentally, I feel like we make a bigger impact on the people around us. We have a greater potential to actualize our best selves. So I want to acknowledge you for that transformation.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
And for showing up the way you do. I know you get criticized and attacked online for stuff, and I appreciate that you're just constantly trying to find wisdom that relates to you, and you're trying to share what you're learning.
That's it, man.
And I think you're doing a great job. So I want to acknowledge you for that, Billy.
Thank you, man.
And I hope and if people want Billy to come back on, leave a comment below, share the biggest takeaway from today. And we'll get Billy back on in the future. But this is a question I ask everyone at the end called the 3 truths.
Okay.
So imagine hypothetical scenario. You live as long as you want in this realm, but it's the last day on earth. You accomplish and manifest all your dreams. Everything you want to happen happens.
Right.
But in the last day, you've got to take all of your work with you. So the books are gone, the TV network is gone, anything you create, gone, hypothetical. Yeah. But you get to leave behind 3 lessons that you've learned from life.
Yeah.
And that's all we would have from your content. What would those 3 truths be for you?
The first truth I would say is the ultimate frequency is love. To make sure you get on the love frequency, because without love, nothing can persist. Love has to permeate and does permeate the entire known universe. The second thing I would do is I would tell people not to focus on material things. Material things are important. Material things make life pleasant and easy in the 3rd dimension. But if you focus solely only on that, you'll be out of balance and you'll be out of sync with what really matters. Focus on building positive and healthy relationships. That's what you should focus on the most, and have a balance within your life between material things and non-material things. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing I would say is to just be of service to others. What legacy can you leave behind that would be better than people remembering how you assisted and helped them in their darkest time, in their time of need, when they didn't even know you were coming to save them?
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. And the final question, Billy, what's your definition of greatness?
Wow, greatness. I think that real true greatness is most likely when somebody really understands that the power to save themselves is within themselves. Like, there's nobody coming to save you. When I came to that realization, my whole life shifted. Everything shifted in my life. And I think that a lot of people are waiting for this magical thing to come and just bail them out, instead of analyzing the problem and then focusing on what solutions can begin to solve this problem, whatever that problem is, and being a part of that solution. And if you can't be a part of the solution, find someone that's part of that solution and collaborate with them.
Yeah. There you go, my man.
Yeah,
Billy,
thanks for being here. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, man. Powerful stuff.
You have set your brain up to be in the love trust end of the emotional spectrum, with oxytocin flowing around your blood, making you much more willing to take a healthy risk, to collaborate, to think outside of the box, and reducing, because it's kind of a seesaw effect, the cortisol, the stress hormone.